Good morning, everyone. We're going to call the meeting to order. Today is Monday, May 18th, 2026. It is 9 a.m. All council members are present, including the town manager, deputy town manager, town clerk, and town attorney. If you please rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
We are thankful for this day that you have given us, for its blessings, its opportunities, its challenges. May we appreciate and use each day that is given to us. We pray for strength and guidance for each day as it comes, for each day's duties, for each day's difficulties. May we be challenged to give our best always, and may we be assured of your presence with us. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we have the approval of the final agenda. Just a couple things where Chris King is here from Anchorage Advisory Committee, and we have Beth Cahill here to present the check from What's Up FMB. Also, the FDOT people for the landscape updates and the presentation are running a little bit late, so they're not going to be here until a little after 10. So we'll pop them in whenever they get here so that we can get them on their way. Is there any other changes to the agenda?
Thank you.
Or a motion to approve the final agenda?
Move to approve, Mayor.
Second by Councilor King, seconded by Councilor McLean. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Next is public comment. Got any cards?
I have nobody signed up.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Local achievements and recognitions. We first have a proclamation for Safe Boating Week. Paul Borick, I believe, is the one. He's the vice commander from Flotilla 91 on Fort Myers Beach, U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. He could not be here. I don't know if anyone else is here in his place, but Curtis is good. Okay, I will read this and then pass it off to Curtis. Town of Fort Myers Beach proclamation. Whereas the town of Fort Myers Beach in Lee County, Florida, which its beautiful year-round waters and miles of saltwater tidal coastline, rivers, bays, canals provides many of the needed outlets for recreation and relaxation to its residents and people from around the world. And whereas recreational boating is one of Florida's leading outdoor activities with more than 50,000 registered boaties in Lee County alone, distinguishing Florida as the boating capital of the world. And whereas every year lives are lost in boating accidents in spite of the educational efforts of the U.S. Coast Guard, the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary, the U.S. Power Squadron, Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission, and local agencies. And whereas federal, state, and local agencies and private companies and groups have combined their efforts to reduce boating accidents by developing and executing safety training programs such as Boat Smart, Boat Safe, and You're in Command. And whereas the sponsors of these programs has focused their efforts towards the youth and general public of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, urging them to enhance boating pleasure by avoiding alcohol while navigating and ensuring vessels carry emergency distress and communication equipment and participating in free boat safety checks to avoid possible loss of life while reducing the loss of property and marine accidents. And whereas a significant number of boating fatalities could be prevented if individuals wore life jackets. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, does hereby designate May 16th through May 22nd, 2026 as Town of Fort Myers Beach Safe Boating Week, and urges all citizens to join in learning and participating safe boating by wearing a life jacket, taking boating education courses, getting a vessel safety check, operating your vessels responsibly, safely, soberly, and obeying Coast Guard regulations. Given under my hand and the seal of the Office of Mayor this 18th of May, 2026. Curtis?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm for the record, Curtis Ludwig, Harbor Master. I am here on behalf of the Coast Guard Auxiliary. Paul and his crew, I'm not sure, but was not able to make it. So I'm here to accept the proclamation on behalf of the Coast Guard Auxiliary. Yes, thank you.
Trust
Sorry.
me, I had the same problem. All right, thanks. Come on up, get it. We'll take a picture. You want to take a picture? Everybody
Gotta take a picture.
got to take a picture.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks. All right, next we have advisory committee items, reports, and appointments. Chris, come on up.
Good morning, Town Council members and town staff. I'm Chris Riedel King, Chair of the Anchorage Advisory Committee. It's my honor today to represent the Anchorage Advisory Committee and members of the Marine Environmental Resources Task Force in providing a report about the joint committee meeting we had last Wednesday, May 13th. At the request of the town manager, we gathered to discuss a couple of items, as well as conduct our regularly monthly business. The agenda items requested by the town manager were: consider recommendations for guidelines the town should consider to govern operations of potential water taxi and/or water ferry service on the island. Our remit was not whether it should be allowed, but to consider regulations to govern such operations. The second item was to talk about whether the town's current policies around algae cleanup were sufficient or needed modifications. I won't be presenting our formal recommendations on either today, as the committees have not reviewed and/or voted on anything yet, but I'll give you a flavor of what we discussed and what likely will be coming your way either in June or when you reconvene in August. Regarding water taxi and ferry operations, the number one concern, and this is so relevant to what you just signed a proclamation for, what we discussed was enforcement of existing speed zones in the bay, and we acknowledge that definitions around those different zones and the speed limits are very challenging, and application of them differs by vessel size and shape. But this is not a new concern. I've spoken to you previously about efforts undertaken by Mary Torgerson as a concerned citizen last fall, beginning in November. She convened stakeholders from pod protectors, the Chamber, LCSO, FWCLE, USCGA, that's the Coast Guard Auxiliary, the town, and marine operators and others to discuss this issue. There were a number of positive outcomes from the meetings that Mary brokered, including the creation of a speed zone map that's posted on the Chamber's website and is lovely laminated here. We handed those out at the Cruiser Appreciation Day. It's posted on the on the Chamber site, and we would request that you also post it on the town site, because I think it's a handy dandy map for people to be able to access. My understanding is that work also is in progress to create an app that will allow boaters to easily see where the speed zones are. So there are educational efforts in progress, but there also needs to be enforcement, increased and coordinated enforcement efforts, because speed kills manatees, it destroys seagrass, it damages shorelines and seawalls, and it damages boats at marinas and in our mooring field. Our committees strongly urge Town Council to get involved in creating a more robust, consistent, coordinated effort around speed enforcement in the Bay. If there's one thing that we all agree upon that we would like you to do, it's that. Other considerations that likely will be coming your way and included in our recommendations around the creation of a permitting process would be including establishing it in alignment with existing permitting for other similar water-related operations. I know that you already have permitting processes for things like water rentals, tour operators, so don't recreate the wheel, but consider what you've already got out there and make accommodations based on the different types of operations. Maintaining compliance with all existing federal, state, county, and local laws, regulations, ordinances, and licensing requirements. It sounds a little bit like what you hear on an airplane. Establishing a maximum number of licenses, permits, operators allowed for each type of enterprise, as well as the maximum vessel size allowable. Establishing a fee for the right to operate and or use any town facilities, with special consideration around parking at docking facilities. We know that parking is an issue on the island. It will become an increased consideration and problem if we think about where we want ferries to land. Minimum levels of insurance and liability coverage required, and any restrictions on hours, days, months of operation, as well as complying with existing noise, loud music restrictions. So again, those aren't our recommendations, not formal recommendations, but that's what we discussed, and I think that's likely what's going to come to you. On the second item, algae removal, again, not a formal recommendation, but based on our discussion, the sentiment was that the existing town policy is adequate, but think about making sure that that policy applies to the entire island equally, that there isn't more weight placed on certain areas of the island, north or south. The policy also, we think, should allow for staff to use its best judgment under any special circumstances and based on available resources. Staff should be allowed to make common sense decisions, particularly when concerns of safety, health, or negative island perceptions might come into play. Again, not a formal recommendation, but that was the sentiment discussed. And I'll just call out a couple of other member items of note. There was support for AAC member Sam Lurie's request to consider alternatives to fireworks in the future, given environmental, safety, and health concerns. Before the town moves ahead with any future fireworks recommendations and discussions, we'd like you to look into alternatives like lasers and drones and do some due diligence on the pros and cons of these alternative approaches. There also was support for MRF committee member Jennifer Rust's request to increase enforcement of regulations for property maintenance. Now that we're heading into rain and hurricane season, it's even more important to make sure that unsecured debris doesn't blow around and wash into our storm drains or waterways. We appreciate the opportunity to hold joint meetings to discuss items of overlapping interest. We'd like your continued support to do so. We think scheduling these on at least an annual basis is very helpful, as there are things that, cover both of our areas of interest. I thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Chris. Mr. King, any questions for Mrs. King?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
Nothing new, ladies and gentlemen.
Scott?
No, great work. Thank you.
Rebecca?
Yes. Chris, do you plan to meet again, your next meeting as a joint meeting?
No, we will. I have drafted up recommendations based on our discussion, and so it will be sent to each of the committees. MRF meets on June 10th. We meet on June 22nd, and so we'll, discuss and vote and sort of put something together. Then it likely will be August, because I don't think we'll get something to you in time at the end of June.
Okay. Then my next question would be, I'd like to hear more at some point about fireworks and how they impact the environment.
Oh, absolutely.
So just we can educate ourselves and we can educate others. So that was interesting.
Yes, I think Member Lurie would be happy to put together more information.
Perfect. Thank you.
John?
No, I was present at that meeting along with Councilmember King, and I thought the joint meeting was I thought it was great. I think annually is probably not enough considering the overlap that you guys have, but that would be something I would consider. Thought it was very productive.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. I have nothing to add.
All right.
Great job.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good day. All right, Beth. Where's Beth? There, she's hiding back there.
Good morning. My name is Beth Cahill. I'm treasurer of What's Up FMB, and I'm honored to be here today representing our organization. I'd like to share the following statement on behalf of Don Miller, president, and Karen Woodson, vice president of What's Up FMB. On behalf of our board, our volunteers, our business community, and the many residents and visitors who contributed to this effort, thank you for allowing us to be part of this year's 4th of July celebration. What started as a fundraising effort for fireworks became something much bigger. It became a reminder of what this island can accomplish when a community comes together. We are incredibly grateful to the town of Fort Myers Beach for partnering with us on Freedom by the Bay and helping create an event the entire community can be proud of. Together, this community helped raise more than $129,000 to support the fireworks display, barge operations, permitting, parade support, and event logistics for this year's celebration. This contribution represents community spirit, collaboration, and a shared commitment to keeping traditions like the 4th of July celebration alive on Fort Myers Beach. It is truly an honor to present this contribution on behalf of What's Up FMB and the Fort Myers Beach community. As always, say Fort Myers Beach is stronger when we work together, and this is proof of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Now you got to come up and be in the picture since she left you out of it.
Jeff, why don't you come up and
Yeah.
accept in front of, we can take a picture, Nora.
Yes.
That's a big check. That's a big check.
You gonna put it on the barge?
What's in the ATM?
That is the barge. Yeah.
That's a big check.
That's perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, your hands are cold.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
I didn't get your name, sir, but please come up and, you missed the proclamation. Curtis has it for you, but just let us know who you are.
Well, thank you very much. I'm John McGarry. I'm with the Coast Guard Auxiliary for Fort Myers Beach, Flotilla 91. And we just want to thank you guys for making boater safety a priority. And we're so excited to help out, but we're more excited to help when it doesn't involve a tragedy. So thank you for making a priority.
John, thank you for coming out, and thank you for all the work that you and your team do to keep us as safe as we can. Anybody hold it?
You wanted to redo the proclamation photo with him here?
Yeah, love to.
Yeah,
Is
why don't
Curtis
we
still
do that?
here?
I think Curtis is gone, but we can hold an envelope. Yeah, let's do a picture.
Come on
hold
up.
piece of paper? Yeah.
Something that looks like a proclamation? Well, in today's day and age, can't
This
you
is
just?
a good blank envelope.
Here, you can hold this up like that. Someone can Photoshop that in, can't they? Abby, I have all the confidence.
Use the
in
blank
world.
side.
Yeah.
Abby, can you take 100 pounds off? Yeah, she can Photoshop it in. Thank you.
sir.
Thanks for everything you're
Thank
doing
you.
for us.
Thank you.
Everyone else.
That's
Wow.
actually my document.
He's taking
You
your
mean it was your
proclamation.
document?
Thank you very much.
Well, it was your document.
That was his big town council paycheck.
All right, next we have the approval. We have to move the bridge project landscape. I don't think that they are here yet. So we will move on to the approval of the minutes from the town council meeting of May 4th, 2026. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion by Counselor King,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Link. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. We have nothing on the consent agenda or anything to be removed, which brings us to our first public hearing. This is ordinance 26-08, charter changes. This is a legislative item. Agenda item is a first reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 26-08. If approved at first reading, a second reading and final adoption hearing will be scheduled for June 1st, 2026 at 9 a.m. or another time identified by town council. An ordinance of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, proposing amendments, the Fort Myers Beach Town Charter, proposing charter amendments 1, mandating ordinances requiring disclosure in quasi-judicial hearings and prohibiting unlawful gifts. 2, revising the town council compensation process. 3, revising the term of the town council seats filled by appointment. 4, clarifying the service of the interim mayor. 5, clarifying the qualifying period for town council candidates. And 6, providing for the use of the Lee County Canvassing Board, providing for referenda on the proposed charter amendments, providing for ballot titles and ballot summaries for such referenda, providing for direction to the town clerk and coordination with the Lee County Supervisor of Elections, providing for filing the revised charter with the Florida Department of State, and for providing for findings, conflicts, severability, and an effective date.
Me.
Nancy?
Good morning. This is on page 19, if anybody's following along on the agenda. This is the next step to implement the recommendations that were made to you at your last meeting from the town's Charter Review Commission. This was at that meeting, there was a letter that they sent to you recommending several changes, which I will go into a little bit more detail on. And your direction to me was to bring it back in the form of an ordinance, which would be the next step, or try to figure out if there was any way administratively that we could implement the recommendations. And so I did that. I worked with Wade Vose on this. It was a little bit of a heavy lift, and I'll show you why. But we got through it, and we were not able to find any administrative type resolution to the recommendations that were made. So just to walk you through the ordinance, there's a number of whereas clauses kind of giving you the legislative background to it. The proposed referendum addendum is on Exhibit A, which begins on page 23. So these are the 5, make sure there are 5. So we put one on each page to make it easy. And when I say it's the heavy lifting, there are some specific statutory requirements that proposals to be placed on the ballot have to comply with. So we took the concepts and we came up with titles to the questions, cannot be more than 15 words. Then we came up with a ballot summary, which is what you'll see is not in bold. That cannot be more than 75 words. And we had to basically encompass the concepts of what the Charter Review Commission provided to you. There is a section still in Florida law regarding ballot language translation. So between first and second reading, we will have the ballot title and the summary translated into Spanish. And on second reading, you'll see that inserted there. We did not put it in at this time because there might be a little bit of changes that maybe you want to make to the wording, giving you that opportunity. I would ask that hopefully no changes be made to the title of the ordinance itself. We are somewhat on a tight timeline to get your final ballots questions to the supervisor of elections. The town clerk, in her wisdom, we have a little bit of flexibility, but not a lot. However, we do have flexibility in the actual wording, but not changing the title of the ordinance itself. So the first one, question number 1 is on page 23. And this, the first one is mandating ordinances requiring the disclosure in quasi-judicial hearings and prohibiting unlawful gifts. We do already have some of those ordinances in place. However, by putting it into the charter, it really emphasizes the need for transparency in quasi-judicial hearings and, again, reasserting the prohibition against unlawful gifts. The what you see at the bottom under 3.01, this is where the actual language would change in your charter. So question number 2 is revising the town council compensation process. And what this one does is basically creates the compensation committee that consists of 5 residents of the town to be appointed by the town council and to make recommendations back to the town council for compensation adjustments. And that would be no later than 3 months prior to the date of the next regular election. And then the town council can revise the compensation by ordinance.
Nancy, quick question. So this goes to the referendum for a vote. Do they see just the revising the town council compensation process under the ballot proposal, or do they see the strike through and the underlying part of it as well as to what it was and what it would change to? Or it would be just, will they just see?
I believe that they will just see the question and the translation. I do not think that they see the text revision itself. But I will double check on that and report back to you at your next meeting. So moving on to number 3, this is revising the term of the town council seat that becomes vacant and is filled by appointment. This would extend the term through the term of the vacated seat rather than the next regular election. Number 4 was kind of interesting. And initially we thought there would only be like one section 4.08 that would have to be amended to implement this. on further review, we found that section 4.02 for the mayor and 4.03 for the vice mayor referred to an interim mayor. So what we did was we went back and we changed the question that the shall the town of Fort Myers Beach charter be amended to clarify that upon a vacancy in the council seat of the council member serving as mayor, the vice mayor shall serve as interim mayor until the next annual appointment of a mayor. And that pretty much addresses the transition in the event that there is a vacancy, because the office of the mayor and the vice mayor is appointed or is selected by town council and changes in November. Number 5 is concerning the qualifying period. And this one provides that it is the Lee County Supervisor of Election can determine a candidate qualifying period pursuant to the interlocal that we have. Number 6, see, I said there were 5, there's actually 6, provides for the use of the Lee County Canvassing Board, which has also been used for canvassing of votes because of the interlocal that we have with the Supervisor of Elections. So I think that that pretty much implements what the direction was at your last meeting. And with that, I would ask if there were any additional questions. If not, I would look for a motion to move it on to second reading.
Counselor McLean, you got any questions for Nancy or
No,
comments on
Nancy,
any
thank you for taking the deep dive in whether or not things could be done administratively. Appreciate it and understand completely that the language is as required. No questions.
Thank you.
Counselor Link?
I do have questions. I was hoping that we would review each one of those 6 items and make comments, agree to move them forward. I have some concerns with some of them that I would like to express.
Okay, go ahead.
Thoughts about if we should go through each one, or?
If that's your wish.
Okay. So first thing would be just a housekeeping. I want to thank the committee as well. They did an awesome job. If I watched that meeting once, I think I watched it 3 times. On the chair's letter to us on page 32 of 806, under compensation, they talk about commencing in 2027 and no sooner than every 4 years. However, under that particular item, it discusses a 3-year cycle. So there's a discrepancy there.
Could you be a little more specific as to where you're suggesting the proposed change occur?
Yes.
Maybe on question 2?
Yes. So that would be question 2. Well, let me start with question 1. My first question is, the change says unlawful gifts. Aren't unlawful gifts already unlawful? So I'm not sure what that means. Are there lawful gifts?
There are lawful gifts,
Okay.
which would be less than the $25.
Less than the 25. Okay. So I'm fine with that. 2, council compensation. This one is the one I have a problem with, and I'd like to see if there's a middle ground. I spent a lot of time on this, and I understand where the committee is coming from. I see inflation as a real thing. I don't see our compensation as something that should be equal to the broader market, the professional market. I see it as something that is part service and part compensation. So I don't support question 2 as it is written and would like that to be discussed. I'm afraid if we move compensation to this model, because we would be appointing the committee who will decide our compensation, that could start to erode public trust.
Well, I think that's where you're confused. So the committee would make recommendations, much like the Charter Review Committee did here, and then it would be up to the council at that time to make the ultimate decision to affect the council coming in after that. So the committee wouldn't be making the changes. It would have to come.
I
as a
agree.
suggestion.
I agree. I totally understand that, and I appreciate that. What I'm talking about, though, is we are looking to move this out of the charter, take a dollar figure and move it out of the charter and move it into the hands of a committee that we appoint to make recommendations that come back to us. That is a very different model, and that is a big change from how we've done things in the past. So I'm not looking for us to not be compensated. I'm just looking for the way we go about it. So that's what I'm looking for.
What would be your recommendation?
So good question. Thank you, John. So my recommendation would be that we keep a dollar figure in the charter. And maybe we add COLA to that. So it hasn't happened in a few years, but it is a set number. It is not in line with what the market would pay for our roles, but it is in line with other towns like ours. My research showed that we tend to fall into a small town category where we are more service oriented, that this role is a job that we do for public service. So we should be compensated, but it's not something that we would look at like employees who would be compensated for their tasks and what they do and how many hours. I mean, look at the mayor. There's not enough money in here for all the hours he spends. So I'm looking for something that stays common to our town size. When I see us moving to the type of model that is suggested here, that tends to go for larger towns under an awful lot of professionalism coming in, changes. Towns like Tallahassee have moved to this model. So I'm looking at a COLA adjustment for a number that should be in the charter, and then perhaps every 2 years or 4 years, we can bring a referendum up if we need to, that we think we want to change anything that would be past a COLA adjustment, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
we're asking the community to vote on, yes, you're allowed more than COLA would allow.
I guess I'm struggling a little bit to understand it. I think everything, at least what I heard that you've mentioned, is covered in the way that it's written. The set number is there, that is not leaving the charter, the set number. I think what this does, I agree with you where it said, it says 3 years, but in the recommendation, it says to do every 4 years. And the way this is written, it could be confusing that it's going to be every 3 years, which would not align with the elections that would happen every 4 years. That's just a simple wording change, I think. But what this does, at least in my mind, is it puts together a committee that makes a recommendation. It could be that it could go up 1 year. It could be that it could go down 1 year based on the committee's recommendation, where the council then ultimately votes on it. To me, it allows flexibility. I'm looking to you. You brought it up. So, I mean,
Yeah.
does anybody
I
else have
just-
any concerns with how
I'd
it's
like
written?
I'd like to hear, so the number doesn't stay.
The number
Mayor.
stays in there. The
Well, no,
19
it says effective November 4th.
But the first part the first line where it says effective April 1st, that line is not stricken out. So that's going to stay in the charter. That would be the baseline that you're referring to as far as a compensation amount. That won't change. All that's changing is that a committee will be formed to potentially discuss an increase or no increase based on the situation we have at hand
Right.
at the time. And then that recommendation, much like this, would come to the council at the time to make the recommendation. And I think and Scott, please correct me if I'm wrong, at least what I heard in the explanation in the meeting was that the council that would be voting on it wouldn't benefit from it unless they were reelected, should they be in the middle of their first and second term. So it wouldn't be something that they would benefit from. It would be the next council.
I totally understand that. I get that.
Yeah, and the other thing is COLA really doesn't, I mean, it's about the best we can do, but it really doesn't match inflation, especially when there's high spikes like we witnessed a couple of years ago.
Right.
It's an overall, formula. It doesn't really,
Yeah, I just see it as we are moving the compensation process to an ordinance, and we risk moving from a public service oriented model to a professionalized model that is more in line with, what HR would do for staff. What is this job? How
but you
does it
say
compensate?
large towns, Naples has the same thing, and they call it a blue ribbon committee.
Right, and Naples is much bigger than us, a lot more revenue. I'm concerned that we could appoint a committee.
Mhm.
We would appoint the committee who will
Right,
make the
but at the-
recommendations.
They're just making a recommendation, just as the charter review committee made recommendations. So,
Yeah, I understand that.
and the way it was written to insulate us from any political backlash, they're going to look at it objectively. They're going to look at, the issue. One of the issues with them was that this job is a whole lot different than it was 6 years ago.
I agree.
I mean, we're dealing with 10 years ago. So,
Sure.
so they want to, do an objective analysis of what our compensation would be. And they worked long and hard on this, and
I agree.
but I understand your concerns, and I appreciate them. I don't, John asked what would the alternative be? So, and they talked about what the alternative would be in going with COLA, and they, most of the banker guys and the business people on that committee said, yeah, COLA just doesn't match up with real inflation, especially when there's spikes. So,
I hear what you're saying, and I respect your opinion.
Yeah, I
I
respect
just
yours too.
disagree. Thank you. Yeah, I know you do. Thanks.
So what is it? I guess if you would change it, how would you want it worded? Again, would be going to a referendum, so the public's going to decide whether or not this is a good idea ultimately. But if you don't like the way it's written, how would you rewrite it to feel comfortable with it going to the referendum? Or do you think this entire section should not? go to the
No,
referendum?
I do think it should. I absolutely do. I think the voters should weigh in on almost everything. So my middle ground preference, I made myself some notes here. So I think I would like to see us recalibrate the compensation to a current reality. Supporting what Scott is saying. Add the lost COLA that hadn't happened over some time and come up with a number that everyone agrees with. But then I believe that the compensation should remain service oriented, not, like for like jobs with other cities larger, like Naples. I mean, they've got a lot more revenue. And I would like to keep it in the charter. So the base amount would be in the charter, a new amount, readjusted in the charter, and an automatic CPI every 2 years or 4 years. So any increase that
We're
would
doing-
be
we're doing that.
above
That-
CPI
Melissa,
would then go to a referendum.
we're doing
to the
CPI
town.
adjustments every year. Is that not correct?
Yes, Talisa Oliveira, Human Resources Director, for the record. I do just want to clarify that the COLA has been in place for the town council members since October 1st of 2024, and it is consistently issued out October 1st of every year.
Perfect. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying readjust the dollar amount that is in the charter and
But-
add that anything above the CPI or a COLA, if you want to think of it as consumer price index or COLA, that would go to referendum.
But Rebecca, if we were to adjust the baseline, that would be taking out the
Well, that would still have to go
entire
to
reason of the
referendum.
committee
Yeah.
to
I mean,
actually
it's-
making a recommendation. We
They,
can't decide.
that was
I
one of
agree.
one
I
of the
hear ya.
issues. One of the issues they had was they couldn't come up with a number. They're just the charter review committee, and for us to come up with a number, that's why the consensus actually wasn't. Everybody agreed that a committee, even though we appoint them, would be probably the best route to take.
So then
I
that-
would like to think that this council would appoint people that are a member of the audit committee, a member of the stakeholders that are actually watching the budget. And I don't think anybody is suggesting that it not be primarily a service driven. This is why we're all here, for sure. I don't see any career council people here.
Right.
Well, let me throw this out there, just a random thought. What if the issue seems to be the council selects the committee? We've already got committees. What if each committee, to your point, John, the audit committee, the LPA, someone that's already been appointed to a committee, from the council, makes the decision as to who could be appointed to this committee. So a committee member then would serve on this committee versus the town just selecting 5 people. We've already selected a board of people to sit on these committees. Just an idea that would help take the council out of selecting the people that are going to make
Are gonna be,
recommendations
yeah.
on potentially theirs or the new council's compensation.
But wouldn't they still be appointed by town council?
They would still be appointed
Yeah.
by town council, but the town council wouldn't be selecting then this specific
Each
committee.
counselor would
Yeah,
not.
so the
Yeah.
And that's,
of
and
the
that's
board-
always bothered me in the past in other areas that elected officials selected who they wanted to look at their own compensation. That being said, some did vote against. There always seems to be a recommendation for more money. And I've seen in the past where folks did vote against what the commission recommended for their pay increase. I think it's a nice safeguard in there that it doesn't take effect until the next council. And I'm okay with moving
That's
this
true.
to the voters to let them decide. Now, Mayor, I thought I heard you say that the committee could recommend lowering your pay, but if it's in the charter, I don't think that would be possible.
Well, I think you couldn't recommend it below what the base number that's
Correct,
already in
yeah.
there. But say 5, 6 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, it gets adjusted for whatever the circumstances
Agreed.
are.
Agree.
And those change, they could make a recommendation for it to come back down, but not to go below what is in the charter. Now, would that ever happen? Who knows? But,
Yeah.
a lot can happen in the next 20, 30, 40 years.
And I'd like to be around to see it.
Mayor, I like your idea of pulling from each of the committees. It really just insulates us one more level.
If Nancy, I don't know if
I don't know if
that's
that's
even
even possible.
feasible. It's just something.
So I just asked our town clerk, who works very closely with our committees. We have 6 committees and also an LPA. So 6 is kind of a bad number to have for voting purposes. And then the LPA, I don't know if you want to include them as well, then
Well,
you would have 7.
Couldn't we do just like you did with the Charter Review Commission? You'd have 5. Was there, and the 2 alternates? Should one not be able to be in the meeting? It seemed to work really well with
Did-
the Charter Commission. For people that couldn't make a meeting, they could have someone fill in.
Yeah, you could do that.
They applied to be on that commission, right?
They did, and they were selected.
And
by-
they were selected.
And it was
and-
just an idea. I
Yeah,
just-
no, I mean, I'm the one who said I thought that the audit, somebody from audit
Yeah.
should be on it. And I would think that they would be a good candidate, but just
Yeah, and
grabbing
they're
somebody
also
from-
they're also, somebody on the audit committee would know what our, budget is and,
Exactly.
Yeah,
not,
that's true.
not make some crazy, we should all make $250,000 each when there's no money there.
Right.
I mean, I agree with.
What about if it is the chair of the committee at the time? Because I don't think we would be nominating people for committees, thinking that their body will, be picking that chair that may help me later, 2 years down the road. And that way you kind of just have whoever that committee has put in their seat.
The only concern I'd have with that is maybe the chair doesn't want to be involved. Maybe someone else would want to be involved or have the time to be involved.
Yeah, I think that the interested characters, and believe me, there are people in our community who are recently retired partners of Big Four accounting firms, right? They may not be serving on any of our committees, and they may be the best possible resource for a commission like
Makes
this.
sense, yeah.
right?
Or somebody with a strong HR background.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm saying all of those types of experiences are probably not correlated in any way with being on, for example, the Anchorage
And there
Advisory
probably
Committee.
people
I
out,
mean,
there are probably people out here, just like Jim Bone, who served a number of years in public service for other communities. So,
correct. Yeah, I don't think we should hamper ourselves by stating that it would either be somebody from each committee. They may not have an interest. They may not have a background that's relevant. And there may be people outside of those committees that are better suited for the
Sure.
committee, both by desire to provide their input and recommendations and give of their experience, as well as the folks that may be on very specific committees because of a very unique interest in environmental concerns or cultural issues or what have you, that have no interest at all in compensation matters or have no background in HR or financial services or anything like that. Honestly, I don't believe we should do that.
Yeah, and I'm just threw it out there as a suggestion to
Yeah.
maybe help alleviate some of the concerns that Rebecca has, but I'm fine with the language it is. At the end of the day, ultimately, it's going to come down to the voters to decide whether it moves forward or not. So,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
I guess we'll just do a consensus. No offense, Rebecca,
no,
but
no,
if the consensus
absolutely.
is to
Yeah,
move it forward,
that's
then we'll move
fine.
it forward.
That's
And you know, if between now and second reading, you come up with some different wording that we could discuss, I think that would be the best route.
No, I'm happy that I got to speak about my concerns. So thank you. That's
So Rebecca, you said you had a few others.
I did. So number 3. I'm wondering why we would think to move this. This is the charter amendment revising the term of town council seats filled by appointment. So this is changing it from, John, we appointed you. We love you. This is changing it from the next election, putting it in the hands of the voter, or staying in this seat for whatever that term had left. Now, in this case, it's months. What if it was 3 years? We would be taking someone that we chose and putting them in a seat for potentially 3 years or a long period of time, 2 years. I don't like taking that power away from the voter. So that's why I have some issues with that. I think under our intense redevelopment issues and I'm just not sure a major policy shift like that is a way to go. I don't think I think the voters should choose who sits here. I think we need to put someone in there in an interim so we can do business. But I think at the first election, the voters should weigh in. That's just my comment on that one.
You know, this one, I did share that same concern that you just raised. You know, the voters are the ones that vote us into these seats. You know, it is our responsibility to put someone in there to fill it. And to use John's, not to use you,
Yeah,
John,
sorry, John.
but you know,
It would have been me if it
in
wasn't
John's
you.
case, this scenario, if this was in place now, he would be there until 2028, until Jim Matterholt's seat was vacated or come up for another reelection. Well, actually, he'd be, and that's where I have the reason I have concerns with this is, let's say this was in place. Jim steps down, John comes in, he's going to serve. Does that mean that is one entire term, or does he allowed to then run 2 consecutive terms after that because he was appointed?
Well, that opens up.
Not
that.
to, and I think that needs to be discussed here because I don't know that it was discussed. Maybe I missed it in the charter. Is, you know, or Scott for that matter. Scott was appointed when
Sure.
and he was reelected. So is this now his second term, or does he get to run again for another 4 years after this? That's not spelled out in here. So someone could potentially be in this scenario
11 years.
11
Or
years
ish.
and 364 days in the seat because there's nothing in here that says that they can't be. And that's, I think this needs a little bit more tweaking to address that.
Well, if I could, I think the concern, Scott, I'll defer to you, but I think the concern was that we maintain the every 2 years having a turnover of either 3-2 or 2-3,
Yeah, so-
depending on what it was. And I
So
think
look,
what
that-
we're saying
they-
is,
the main reason for this is because the fear is if you lose that 3-2, all of a sudden you've got 4-1 or 5-0. There's always political swings in this, and pendulums moving back and forth, and the 3-2 kind of negates that, so it keeps it kind of middle of the road instead of one whole group puts everybody in, and then you're with them for 4 years, whether you like them or not, you're stuck with them for 4 years. So the thought process was with the 3-2, you keep that pendulum a little bit in the middle.
But are we really removing the 3-2? So if John is in
Sure,
this
yeah.
seat till the next
So
election.
potentially, Rebecca, because if Dan, if something happens to Dan or I, knock on wood, it's not, next couple months, our seat could go up. Based now, we replace one of us, and then 4 seats would be up for election right now in November. It could potentially happen. That was one of the reasons they they put this in there to keep that 3-2, every 2 years it's 3 or 2 instead of the wide pendulum swings. But again, the people can vote on this, and if it's
You're right.
always the will of
You're
the
right.
people.
You're right. You're absolutely right. You are right. They have the ultimate say in this
Yes.
at the referendum.
Yeah, this isn't, you gotta remember that the charter review is not changing the charter. We're not changing the charter. At the end of the day, it's the people that changed the charter. These are
That's
just
right.
recommendations and things to be put on the ballot for the citizens of our town to decide.
I agree. And I'm using this as an opportunity to probably put my thoughts out there in the public.
Well,
But you're right. It's the voters who will decide.
it is, but I think you have to give the voters enough information to go on and make an educated decision.
And it's hard in 15
And
words.
this does, to me, this is not enough information. From a voter's perspective, if I was voting on this, I would have the same questions that I just raised. So if Dan gets elected and the next day something happens and you appoint Rebecca, does Rebecca then serve that? And if this passes, what this says is that Rebecca would serve the entire remainder of that 4 years. And then she could potentially run for 8 years after that, 4 more years after that, and then 4 more years after that. The intent, so to me, it's kind of fighting another part of you can only run 2 consecutive terms. And I'm not opposed to how this is written, but I think there needs to be more detail in it to spell that out.
So Nancy, is there ordinance in place that handles this? You can't serve more than 2 consecutive terms.
And what is considered
No
a
And
matter
consecutive
how
what,
term?
and what
they
is
are, for
considered
sure.
term? More than a half? But
No, I don't know that, I don't think that was discussed, that issue. but
it wasn't discussed.
Yeah,
Thanks, Dan, for bringing that up. That
Yeah, I didn't think it- I
this
didn't
was
think it
not
was-
discussed at all. So
it's the terms.
And, like my scenario, we had a referendum to go from 3 years to 4 years. So,
right,
there was extra time added to the councils at the time because of the referendum.
right.
And to line up with the next thing. But in this scenario, as I said, someone could theoretically get elected and within a week have a medical condition or decide that their life changes and they step down, the council appoints it. Now you got someone that's sitting in that seat potentially for up to 12 years versus 8 years, what's laid out in the charter somewhere else. So I think there needs to be something in there to determine is, like in your situation, you were appointed, you were elected. I don't know that there's anything out there that says that at the end of your term that you can't run again
Mhm.
or that you can run again. I don't know that there's anything that spells it out either way. And I think
Right.
maybe this might be the spot to put in there, because if you're appointing someone, what does that look like on their 8-year potential back-to-back run that they could do?
It's a good question. I'm going to look for the rationale here that they did such a good job to give us, because I'm wondering what problem they were trying to fix.
Well, I think it was to, and I don't want to speak for Scott, but I think it was to fix the issue where it was going to be 2 seats and now it's 3 seats.
Right. It
So,
could be
so
4, could be
Jim
5.
and I and Scott all ran as the 3 seats. It was always 3-2. Now that 3-2 is shifting. So there's going to be 3 seats again up for reelection this November. And then in 2028, there'll be 2. So it's
Which
flip
they,
flopped.
yeah, they felt fine with that. What they were uncomfortable with was the 4-1 or the 5-0, where you want.
So then maybe maybe the wording needs to be not to exceed 2 years, because every 2 years there's election. So if you're,
Right. So then, yeah, I think, yeah.
so if
You run that.
well, I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way to put it in that eliminates being able to be appointed for up to 4 years. So if you get appointed, you can't serve for more than 2 years. And it's not going to, it's still going to keep that 3-2. It's just going to flip flop it like it has done for us this
Exactly.
year.
Yeah.
So if you get elected, say a day after, or get appointed a day after something were to happen to me, or I had to step down, you would still, so basically it's keeping the wording in there that the next election you would then have to run. So it keeps the same thing as opposed to allowing you to run potentially three terms, but we still need to address.
So Mayor, the clerk, she did find it for us. It's in section 5.03 of your charter. It says, no member of council shall serve more than 2 consecutive full terms. So I think that if you are appointing to fill until the expiration of the full term, that is not a full term.
So
So if
basically,
it's
you
3
so you
years,
can
you can
run,
have
you can
11.
run
2
Through-
times after your
after
appointment.
appointment. Okay.
Yes.
But I think that should be in, if we're going to be changing this, I think some of,
We could clarify that. That's not going to change the title.
Right.
But we can change that wording just to, because we've already added some wording, so we'll clarify.
and I'm okay with that. I just wanted to make it easier for people that are voting on this, whether they vote up or down, that they understand. Because I didn't, until you just said that, I don't think a lot of people understood what it meant for people like Scott that have been appointed, or John that have been appointed, or
same here,
Rebecca
yeah.
that have been appointed and now have the potential to run again. But since it's in there, it's still, it wasn't very clear to me, even reading what you pointed out, Amy, that anybody have an issue with her bringing back whatever she's gonna, whatever
No.
Nancy's legal brain's gonna put together, and we can always adjust it again, but
It's fine.
Okay, I have one other question. So on question 3 in section 4.08, filling of vacancies, it says, right in the middle, it says the vice mayor shall assume the full powers and duties of the mayor. When you go to question 4, this exact same section 4.8, filling the vacancies, it says interim mayor, I believe. So I'm not sure. How does that work,
That
Nancy,
is
when you're
correct.
using
And
the
this is the
same
one that we
4.8?
really, we had to struggle with this one a little bit because of the fact that the use of the term interim mayor is in 4.02. And in 4.03, you have the vice mayor, where it already addresses how to fill the vacancy of the vice mayor if the vice mayor becomes the interim mayor. So it just needed a little bit to make that a little bit smoother.
So in question 3, where it says, let's see here. In the event that the mayor becomes unable to fill the duties of office,
So question 4.
I'm on question 3. I'm going to start with question 3. This is the exact, you can read along with me on question 4 and see where they change, because they're both 4.08. So I'm reading 3, you can look at 4.
Well, let me just, okay, go
So
ahead.
if we change the last 2 words in that sentence, interim mayor, should it be the same in both of those places? Do you see what I'm saying? On page 10 of the document, under question 4, it says, there's an underline, as interim mayor.
So
That would then apply to question 3. It would say duties of the interim mayor. I'm not sure how we can have 4.08 filling the vacancies and it say 2 different things.
Well, that was basically your initial charter when it was adopted, but if you are to amend it, you can only have one topic. And the role of the interim mayor and the interim vice mayor is, that's why we have 2 separate charter questions
I see.
regarding 4.08.
I see. So
Because
if one
for-
passes, then it would change the other one, even if it didn't pass.
No. So one might pass, let's say question number 3 could be adopted and it would only be what's underlined and stricken under number 3.
Okay.
But under number 4 is where we address the issue of the interim
The
mayor.
interim. I got you. I see.
And so if you want to make a change, it would be in number 4, but I think it's already
No, it
adjusted.
speaks to it there.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. That threw me. And then I see 5 and 6 as just practical, since the county does those. You'll be glad to know I don't have any comments. Thank you for hearing me out.
all right. Scott, I'm assuming you don't have anything to add to that.
No, sir.
I'm
John?
good, thank you.
Okay. All right, public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak in this hearing in public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll come back. Is there any more discussion or motion for ordinance 26-08 to go to a second reading on June 1st, 2026 at 9 a.m.? Is it June 1st? The 3rd is the special meeting, right? Okay.
Yes. I just wanted to make sure I know what your changes are. I'm basically going to let you know that the body is not going to be, I'm just going to confirm that that's not going to be on the ballot. The ballot summary will not, just the questions. And then we are adjusting in number 2, 3 to 4. And I think that's it.
Yes.
Mayor, I'll move ordinance 26-08 charter changes.
All
I'll
right.
second that.
Got a motion by Counselor King, seconded by Vice Mayor Safford. Any further discussion? Counselor King,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford.
Aye.
Counselor Link.
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Looks like we've got FDOT here. You guys want to come up now? We'll jump back, or do you need more time? All right, you just give us the nod when you're ready, and because we're moving on to administrative agenda items. So the next item is we're on to administrative agenda. The first item is a special event, Coastal Cars and Coffee. This is to approve of a special event for the Coastal Cars and Coffee's Classic Car Showcase to be held on May 23rd, June 20th, July 18th, August 15th, and September 19th, 2026 at Santini Plaza, located at 7205 Estero Boulevard from 8:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. as requested by What's Up FMB, including authorization for the recurring event and the rental of 22 parking spaces at Beach Access 36 Wastina Way for overflow parking subject to further approval by the Fort Myers Beach Fire Control District and the Lee County Sheriff's Office. Beth, anyone? Or
Yes,
Will?
Mr. Mayor, we do have representatives of What's Up FMB here. If the council has any questions, this request, staff has reviewed the request. We're still waiting for final feedback from Lee County Sheriff's Office and the Fire District, but we don't foresee at this time any issues.
I have a question, if
Yeah.
I may. I'm still kind of perplexed as if the event's being held at Santini, why are they renting 22 parking spots at Wasting Away?
Come on,
Yeah.
whoever wants it.
However,
either-
I'm just, that's just my
Do you
question.
My guess is it's for the
Go ahead.
after thing.
Is
Go
there
ahead,
like an
Abigail.
after? Okay.
Or Nora.
Go.
You have to step up to the mic. Thanks, Beth.
So that's a big party from here down, all the way down the Whale?
Yes. But
Wow.
it is for when they go to lunch at the well, then they'll need extra parking across the
Oh,
street.
gotcha.
That's what that's for.
Okay,
Okay.
that's easy.
And you're asking to rent the spaces, not give up the spaces.
That is correct.
Okay.
But if you want to give them, it's fine.
I was just clarifying what you asked for. That's all.
I would
Okay,
remind
thanks.
the
Thank
council
you, Beth.
that
Yes.
they just gave us a check for
Yeah.
$129,000 and that perhaps we shouldn't be charging them $5 an hour times 22 as a suggestion.
Well, Beth.
I agree.
Just trying to give you some helpful things for maybe your next event permit. That's all. John, you got any comments?
No, this is a wonderful event and I really look forward to seeing cars that I would love to aspire to own.
Well, some of them.
Some of them.
Yeah. Rebecca?
No comments, no questions.
Scott?
That's all I had.
John?
Thank you.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion to approve? And well, we didn't really discuss it, but I'm assuming whoever makes the motion is probably going to make the motion too. John, would you like to make the motion?
I would love to make a motion
Okay.
to move forward the special event Coastal Cars and Coffee for May 23rd, June 20th, July 18th, August 15th, and September 19th at Santini Plaza and the subsequent drive down the boulevard to a party at the Whale. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion. The only other discussion that wasn't in your motion, do you want to allow them to have the 22 parking spaces at no charge? That wasn't in your motion. Or do you
That
wanna-
wasn't in my motion. I guess I would like to open that up for discussion.
John, Council King, what do you think about that?
Still mulling.
Okay. Vice Mayor Safford?
I'm okay with that. Based on the hard work they did doing the fireworks. I mean, that's incredible how much money they raised that quickly and, their commitment to the island. I think we can give a little back and show some goodwill and, help their event out.
Councilor Link?
I'm on the fence with that one. My heart says give it to them. My fiscal responsibility says, how do we know when to do for one and not the other? So I'm pretty much a black and white on that one. And
Well,
sorry, I see.
Yeah, no,
No.
my thought process was simply that this is something that we haven't done in the past for Taste of the Beach, other things like that. The town has given up some parking spaces. Mathematically, if you look at these 22 parking spaces for the few hours, how is that going to correlate into what I think the parking revenue will be on the 4th of July, because now there will be fireworks because of their efforts. To me, it's as Vice Mayor said, I think it's a motion of goodwill, at least on this one. You know,
Yeah, I agree. The opportunity cost here for 22 parking spots, the amount of, and it's just not the 4th of July. People are coming down. That's the center point for the weekend, but people are going to be coming down Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But the entire weekend is now back. It's not just the 4th.
and it's not included. It ends at 2:00. So, I mean, you're only talking 5.5 hours.
No, these parking spots aren't on the 4th. They're
No,
on-
what I'm saying is giving those up for this
Oh,
event.
yeah.
Look at the amount of revenue look at the opportunity cost of the revenue that it's going to be increased by the donation they made for the fireworks and keeping the 4th of July going. I mean, it's not just that day, it's the entire weekend.
Agree. And the dates are, I mean, are technically our slow season. They're not in the middle of season. So yeah, would those spaces even be full? I don't know.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
not that I'm either for or against this, and I obviously will follow the council's decision on this. Just a reminder, this is 5 events, not just one.
Correct.
If we clarified, and thank you for doing that, Mayor, the end time, I mean, I might be okay with a limited time, just as they suggested for lunch or something like that.
So I will amend my motion to include approval of special event for the dates listed and allowing the use of the Wasting Away parking lot from the hours of
Before, can I
10
jump in there, John?
through 2.
Just to help you along, based on what Councilor King said, what if we allowed it from the ending of their event, 11:00 till 2:00, and allow them to, it's 22 spots, mark those spots off as reserved for that small time frame. One, to help alleviate town staff to know which cars are actually there for that. Then we have a specific time that we can put things out and take things back, and that helps staff.
Yeah,
Does that
well,
make sense?
we're gonna have to block the parking in the morning because we don't want anybody to be there.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
True.
You've got to allow, if I'm not mistaken, you have to allow for the ADA spots there.
Be open, right.
That's correct. We wouldn't be able to designate those in that. We have to leave
Yeah,
those available.
But the rest
20
of the
spots are
parking
there.
lot would have to be blocked in the morning because you're not gonna tow somebody if they happen to be parked there beforehand.
Yeah.
How many parking spots total there, do we know?
It's 22, I believe.
In full,
They're requesting 22, but how many total?
how many available spots are there?
Probably about that. I don't think there's too many of them.
Yeah.
We don't have to reinvent the wheel here. Either they get it or they don't, you know.
I would like to amend so that we do provide the parking of Wasting Away for the days mentioned as they are in slow season. And this organization has done and will continue to bring so much to the island.
Yeah, I think they're going to be, the other thing too is these 22 spots, there's going to be way more than 22 people down there. So I think we're going to make the money up on other spots close by.
Did your motion have a time in there too, John? or-
For the duration of the event,
Till 2:00.
From the 8:30 to 2.
8:30 till 2:00. Yes, from 8:30 till 2:00.
And can I ask, the recommendation on the agenda is also subject to approval by the Fire Control District and the
Lee County
Sheriff's Office.
Yes.
All right. Has everybody got that clear as mud now?
Whoever seconded, do you accept the changes?
Counselor Link? Didn't you second it?
I second it. Yeah, I'm fine with the changes. Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? Are we clear? So we just want to reiterate that you will have,
Okay.
go ahead.
I'll state it
There you
as
go.
clearly
One
as
more
I can.
time.
Okay, I'd like to move forward approval of the special event for Coastal Cars and Coffee Classic Car Showcase to be held on May 23rd, June 20th, July 18th, August 15th, and September 19th at Cicini Plaza, located at 7205 Estero Boulevard, from 8:30 a.m. to 11 a.m., as well as authorizing the use of the Wasting Away overflow parking lot from 22 spaces from the 8:30 in the morning until 2 p.m. of that day, subject to further approval by the Fort Myers Beach Fire Control District and Lee County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, Councilor McLean,
Aye.
Councilor Link,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford,
Aye.
Councilor King,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. You guys still technical difficulty? You ready? All right, let's come on up. We're now going back to the bridge project landscaping update from FDOT. Good morning, gentlemen.
You just push the button.
Good morning. My name is Daryl Richard. I'm with FDOT. I'm the district landscape architect and also the state transportation landscape architect for the state of Florida. I was here about 3 years ago before the hurricanes and everything. We presented some plans and whatnot. Lots has changed since then. We had some changes to the roadway configuration slightly, and also, of course, landscaping had changed due to the storms. And we're here today to present the final plans that are going out to bid. Bids are due October 15th of this year, and we intend to be under construction from about 30 to 60 days from that point on into the spring of 2027. Completion probably be in spring 27, mid maybe summer 2027, depending on how the bidding situation goes out and how soon we can be under a contract with a contractor. So that said, we'll have a 1-year establishment period for our contractor. He's going to maintain the project for a year. And then after that, TPI, Margaritaville, will be taking over the maintenance after that, probably mid-summer 2028 timeframe. And so we have our design consultant, Mike Schulte, here, going to present the project. And so I'll turn it over to Mike. Then we have questions afterwards if you like.
Thanks. Good morning, Mike.
You don't have to keep holding it.
There you go.
All right, thank you. Good morning. How are y'all this morning? So you can see on the screens, I believe. So I'm gonna have to see how I'm gonna do this.
We're just going to leave these boards with you after the presentation.
Thank you.
But it's the same thing as what we're going to present. So you can put them up in public display after we do the presentation.
Did you provide a copy of those to the Margaritaville people? Maybe they can display them at their.
Yes, we've sent this.
Okay.
Images to them as well.
Go ahead, Mike.
Nope.
You don't have to hold it. You just got to press it. See, there's a little green. There you go.
Oh,
Now
okay.
you're on.
All right. Excellent. Yeah, sorry. We've been trying to get you guys all this.
That's
stuff.
why you're landscapers, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So again, the project has been reduced. So we're starting at 5th Street and swing out around in front of the beach. The project is we've simplified it quite a bit. We have plantings in front of Margaritaville with palm trees, with cocoa plum, and with beach sunflower along their wrought iron fence, or probably their steel fence. That way, we're not impeding any of their views from their rooms onto the beach. The palms will be low. Then in the center median, we're doing same cord grass in beds with cocoa plum and clusia, and then sable palms and thatch palms in the areas towards the road. If I could point, it would probably.
You got to stand by the microphone though, so we can hear you.
Sorry.
You can carry the mic with you.
Sorry.
Won't be able to see you on TV, but that's okay. Well, maybe this one can.
Is this okay?
No.
Is this all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I'll back up. So we're here in front of the hotel. These palms that we have here are low so that the people using the hotel will still be able to see out from the hotel and see the beach. We have sand cord grass in the beds with clusia and beach sunflower along the walkway. In the big median in the middle, where we have the sort of the drainage swale, we want to impede people from just blanketly crossing there. There's some hindrances for us as far as what we can plant because of utilities and other obstacles inside drainage structures and things like that. So somebody that really was intent on going through there still probably could, but we've at least impeded it quite a bit. If we could go to the other PDF, I can kind of show you No? Yes. No, that's, all right, I'm sorry. Could you go back to the other one? Is there a second page on the first one?
There you go.
Yeah, there's a second page. There we go. So now this is, so here we are, we have three views. So view 3, it's right here, is looking from the beach back towards the hotel. So as pedestrians cross, we have the beach sunflower in the walkways with the sable palms. And then you can see the low palms in the background, back behind, so again, so the views still come out. Looking from the hotel is view 2. So now we're standing at the hotel looking back across through the beach. The flowers, the cord grass kind of blocking to keep people from circulating through, but being able to use the sidewalks to get over to the beach. And then the first view from the other corner, looking back across with the beach out in front of us, you can see if somebody was really, like I said, if they're really intent on getting through, they could. And what the photograph really doesn't show is there is a kind of a drainage swale there in the middle.
Mike, I know this is probably not but because you have that up there, if you could take this back to your companions at FDOT, is there any way, you see where the pedestrians are in the same crosswalk?
Yes,
The
sir.
one on the left?
Mhm.
Is there any way to get that light to change to the one like at the base of the bridge that it gets them to wait until the light changes with the other one? Because if that light's green, you come through that light, and if there's somebody at that crosswalk, and they use that one because they don't want to walk the extra 50 feet to go to the stoplight, that one flashes the lights and it gets the cars to stop. So you're defeating the purpose of the one at the light and the one at Crescent. That one, there's no stopping them to correlate with the lights. It's allowing anybody to come across there anytime they want. And as soon as those lights start flashing, people stop. Okay, if you just pass, I know it has nothing to do with this, but if you could pass that along, that the roundabout seems to be working great. However, people stop as soon as they see those lights, which is what they're supposed to do. But to me, it would make more sense for flow to have that light coordinated with the actual stoplight that's there.
I'll bring that up with them.
Yeah, we could talk to the engineers about it. I mean, again, this is all about pedestrian safety. So, I mean, that's what they have to kind of weigh that against.
You would think it would be safer if they were waited until there's no cars actually coming from either direction, from Crescent or from Fifth, versus the person that just went through the green light is now looking at the beautiful park that's going to be there and the beautiful pier, and they're looking that way and they're not seeing the lights flashing.
And I don't disagree with you. It's hard to control drivers and pedestrians, right? Yeah.
Or better yet, come on down for a weekend, stay at the Margaritaville and stand out there and watch what happens for a weekend.
So I mean, again, it's real simple. Oh, and then I guess on this corner we have some more beach sunflower and oleander. This is back it's back right here. We don't really kind of have that in our pictures, but so I mean that's all there is left of the project. There was a piece out by Main Street on the other side of the bridge, and that's been taken out per county request. So I believe that's yeah.
So the county is where it's actually, ironically, the county is signing on to a maintenance agreement for this specific project.
We can't, you got to go up to that mic. Sorry.
The microphones.
We can hear you and sometimes you forget. You can each have a microphone.
Yeah, for
it's
the
fine.
public display. So we have an agreement that's going to be executed by the Lee County Board of County Commissioners for this project. And it's somewhat ironic because it's in your front door, right? But that's the way things work, though. Public ownership is Lee County. So, but they'll sign on to agreement. They're perfectly fine with that. And they've already executed agreement with TPI for the maintenance. I provided that to
on this side of the bridge, not the other side of the bridge.
Well, for this landscaping specifically.
Yeah,
Well, so
but not the part that you're talking about that's no longer in the project is at the base of the bridge at Main Street on the other side of the island, which is now no longer. Originally, it was going to be part of this, and now because there's no agreement in place for maintenance, it sounds like the county doesn't want to maintain it. TPI was not in agreement to maintain it. So essentially, the town will be losing the beautification of that area coming onto the island because nobody wants to take care of it. Is that a fair assessment?
it's my understanding that TPI is fully aware of the project. They were ready to maintain it as soon as the establishment period is completed. And I have an agreement I can provide to you. I think I provided to the town already. So to that effect. So it's my understanding that after Lee County signs on to the maintenance agreement, DOT will construct this project, and there is a separate agreement already between Lee County and TPI that exists where they're
Yes,
taking on the
for
maintenance.
what you're presenting, but not at the base of the bridge as you come onto the island.
No, well,
That is no longer there.
for what we're presenting today, and that's as landscape architects that we're concerned with today specifically. So yes, for what we're presenting in the landscaping, yes. So
I'm just wondering.
maybe it's something
Two
else.
different spots.
And I'm
but
probably not
I
aware of
guess
it. Forgive
well,
me
what
for
I'm-
my ignorance, but,
yeah, what
but
I'm
yes,
trying
we're
to
only
get at is
focused on the landscaping.
What are we losing from it? And this has nothing to do with
Yeah.
you guys. You're only presenting
Mhm.
what has been agreed to in the maintenance agreement. But what is the town losing as far as beautification on that side of the bridge because nobody wants to maintain it? Sounds like FDOT's willing to put it in and Lee County's allowing that to happen, but there's nobody that wants to seem to maintain it.
Oh, you mean the small area on the side of the main,
On
on
the
the other
main-
side of the bridge,
Yes.
on Main Street and
Up by Main
St.
Street.
Carlos? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, I mean, it can always be addressed later. That's a very small, and we had very, minor plantings proposed. So my suggestion would be if someone with their strong will to have that happen, that would be addressed as a separate project at a future date. It could be done in a right-of-way permit or a grant from DOT. We have grants available. That would be my recommendation. So we could go ahead and proceed with this project, go ahead and get this done so the community can get the benefit of this main project that we have here today. So any other questions?
Councilor McLean,
It's
any
been-
questions?
No, sir.
Darrell? Councilor Lang?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And I'm very happy to see this coming to fruition. It's been quite a while. Like I say, it's been 3 years ago when we first presented this, and many things have changed since then. So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. All right, back to the administrative agenda. We have item B, which is a special event for the Whale Anniversary celebration. This is to seek approval of a special event for the Whale Anniversary celebration to be held on June 13th, 2026 at the Whale, located at 1249 Estero Boulevard from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. as requested by Don Miller of the Whale, including amplified live music and food and beverage service, including outdoor alcohol service subject to ABT approval and expansion of premises approval and subject to further approval by the Fort Myers Beach Fire Control District and Lee County Sheriff's Office. Yes, sir.
Excuse me. How are you doing today, Town Council? My name is Blake Colbert. I'm the General Manager of the Whale on Fort Myers Beach. Yes, I just wanted to come and answer any questions you guys may have about the event. It's a very similar structure to the one we got approval for that we're working towards with Jobu Fest. It'll have live outdoor amplified music, two covered areas for food and beverage sales. Well, three technically, one for food, two designated for beverage sales as well. It'll go, I believe the permit goes from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Do you guys have any questions I can answer?
Councilor King, questions?
None.
Scott?
Not right now.
Rebecca?
No.
John?
I'm good, thank you.
The only questions I have, just for clarity for people that live in the neighborhood, and then when you say live, is it going to be inside, outside, both?
So there'll be both. It'll be a stage outdoor in the back parking area
Okay.
that'll have daytime music, and then we'll also have our regular live entertainment inside the building.
And then the expansion of the outdoor alcohol would be contained to your property?
Correct. Yes, it'd cover the front parking for like golf carts. There'd be one station there, and then the back parking area would be blocked off for pedestrian use and all of that.
Okay. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. If there's no other discussion, is there a motion for the special event for the Whale Anniversary celebration?
So moved.
A motion by Councilor King,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Link. You spoke first. There's no other discussion. Councilor King,
Aye.
Councilor Link,
Happy anniversary. Aye.
Councilor McLean.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Brings us to our next item, which is the fiscal year 26-27 budget hearing dates. Who wants to start this one? Or are we just going to look at our calendars and try to pick a couple dates in September?
Well, we do have some suggested dates.
Okay.
That basically were those.
They're in there. It looks like.
Suggested holding budget hearings, we suggest September 9th, 2026. So Wednesday, September 9th, 2026, and Wednesday, September 23rd, 2026.
9th and 23rd.
Those are our suggested dates, but
I'm okay with those
we need
dates.
you all to look.
To begin at 5:01,
To
correct?
begin at 5:01 p.m. Correct.
Scott?
Yeah, I have a governor's conference, but I can skip first day on the
So,
9th.
if I could, I actually, I do have a conflict. Before I was appointed to council, I have a family vacation, including my children in France that week.
Nice.
I was planning on
We're making
phoning
peace.
in for the regular scheduled town council meeting on the 7th. But the budget hearing on the 9th.
7th's Labor Day.
Yeah, so there'd be no,
Oh, so there's
Council.
no, there is one, isn't one there? Okay. Why do I have that on my calendar? Okay, I do have a problem that week. That's all I can say. That entire week I'm out.
Would you have some suggested alternate dates, John?
I could do it anytime the week before or anytime the week after. We then would have 2 weeks. I think
Mhm.
we're running up to the end of September is when the budget needs to be included. I'm happy to do it beforehand.
What
think
would be
that
Joe's earliest date he would feel comfortable being ready
The other
for?
thing I could suggest is that I think it's most important that we have a full dais for the actual vote on the budget. And I would obviously, if I can't participate, I would watch this session, the first session, so that I'm fully up to speed in order to participate in the second voting session. If that's agreeable to council, if we can't find another date. I'm just hesitant, only because
I guess what I would be concerned with, well, I'll ask Nancy, if he wasn't present either via Zoom or in that meeting, and we don't know what the budget's going to look like or what the recommendation from staff's going to be, maybe a situation where it requires a unanimous or supermajority decision. If he is not here at the first hearing, can it continue on to the second hearing if we were in a situation like we were last year?
You're asking if you can do a continuance of it?
No, if we didn't, let's just say worst case scenario, that we needed to have a unanimous approval for whatever reason for the budget to go to the second, can you do that with only 4 members present?
I don't think so. I think it has to be
Go to the second
everyone.
reading? Okay, so everybody would have to be here.
I mean, I will
In that
double check,
scenario.
but I think it has to be everyone.
So if you participated via Zoom, you would be starting this meeting at 11 o'clock at night in France, correct? Would it be possible to move it ahead a week to the second, the Wednesday ahead? Or is that
I know, Amy,
too
you have
soon
some,
for?
and I'm sorry, Counselor Link. I
No,
know
that's okay.
Amy has some suggested dates maybe
Great.
prepared as well.
I think we're suggesting to move it to the 14th and the 28th. And
I
then
have a
if I could
conflict on
also
the
ask while you're pondering those dates, what are your plans for the regular council meeting? Do you still want that at 9 a.m.? Do you want it to start at 1 p.m.?
Well, can we work backwards? Well, does the 23rd work for everybody for the second meeting?
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine.
Scott?
I'm good.
John?
Good.
So let's lock the 23rd in. Can we do that and work backwards from there?
That'd be for the second budget meeting?
The second budget meeting, yes. And then would it make more sense, that's at 5:01, would it make more sense to have it, if it's possible, with Joe the first week? Because if there was any changes from the first meeting to the second meeting, that would allow more time to allow you to crunch the numbers if there's numbers that need to be
Yeah.
crunched,
Joe, could you be ready by the second
or third.
or third? John, John,
Yeah.
McLean, when are you leaving?
The 7th
Okay.
through the 14th.
Or I guess, is there any time that first week that would work for staff?
For staff, yeah.
This is Joe Onsick, Finance Director. I think as late as you can make it that week beforehand would be, we'll just make that our target and do the best we can to have it as finished for you as possible.
I'm okay that week, so whatever.
The first week.
The first week,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thursday, the
I'm
3rd.
having my office
Friday.
check when the Lee County budget hearings are. We cannot hold them at the same time. So I should have that momentarily.
10 of, yeah.
You don't want to do it on the 4th. That's the start.
No,
of the
that's
year.
the
Not a 501.
start of a long weekend as well. We have a lot of people. So third would be preferable if it doesn't conflict with county.
As long as it
Amy-
gives
Amy's
Joe,
looking at that now.
I don't want to give Joe sleepless nights over being too early, but
Or what about Thursday, the 10th even?
John's going to be gone.
Oh,
that
that's
whole
right,
week
you're
is-
gone the whole week,
So
yeah.
it's either got to be
Till
the
the
first week.
14th, yeah.
So the county's meetings are on the 3rd and the 15th, and we are not allowed to hold them on the same dates as them.
Well, then it's
Yikes.
either the second or the fourth, but is one day going to give you major heartburn, Joe?
I'm just checking the few notes I have. I believe the earliest we can have it according to like the trim guidelines is September 3rd.
The earliest, okay.
So I don't think the second would work based on that.
So it looks like it have to be the 4th if it's going to be that week. I mean, it's if all of you are here, that's most important, and we can ensure that we have the staff here to support those meetings that day.
Right, yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody really wants to do it on Friday, but I don't think giving Joe and the staff a week to turn something around if you did it the third week
I
would
appreciate
be
that.
much more difficult than,
Yeah, that was my question. Is it harder to give them a week between meeting 1 and 2 or?
yeah, the
Be
biggest
too
issue is
early.
usually the first meeting is usually much longer than the second meeting with the budget hearings, so it could be here for a while that night.
And we also have advertising requirements. We can't put them a week. There's not enough time for
Not enough time,
advertising in there.
okay. Well, can we table this discussion until our next meeting, when Nancy knows for sure
Yes.
if John,
Yes, we
if we
can.
could
If
have
it has
4
to be
people
here
versus,
Physically, yes.
We can do
you
that.
do that.
that might solve a lot of the issues. I mean,
Okay.
we'd love to have you here, John, but I mean, I have no
Yeah,
doubts that you
I
would be
apologize.
following
This
along.
was
Yeah.
booked before I had any inclination that I might be
No
sitting
need
in
to
this seat.
apologize.
I will discuss with Joe and Nancy and Amy and that because what we might need in decisions we may need in that first meeting may require all 5 members, may not. It's
Not that I
hard
want to add
determine
more
at
to
this
our
point.
June meeting, but
Yes.
this is an important one.
Yes.
Nancy, do we need to take a motion to continue this to a date certain?
No, you don't have to do that. I also want to remind you that you do have a special meeting coming up on the 1st and the 3rd. So as long as we add this item on that agenda, you could bring it up at that meeting to talk about it.
That'll give you enough time to research
Yeah,
what you need to do as far as having
an answer.
okay.
Yes.
Amy, and if I could also let you know, the 14th is a no-go for me. I almost would be impossible to reschedule that.
Thank you.
Can say that.
Okay, so we will table the discussion on the hearing dates until June 1st, the June 1st meeting, or do you want the 3rd?
Either one, if you give us the discretion.
I
we'll
think
get it
I'd
on your
prefer to have it
agenda.
on my preference would be to have it on the normally scheduled meeting,
Okay,
just in case something were to happen with the special meeting. Then you're not having a meeting for just one agenda item. Or,
Oh, that's a good one.
you
Yeah,
know,
that is true. Okay.
always thinking there, Mayor.
anything's possible. All right, we'll move
Sir.
on to the collections management policy. This is seek approval of the collections management policy for the Mound House.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Brianna has been waiting patiently. You want to go ahead and step up, Brianna, and discuss this, your new collections management policy with council, please.
Hello, everyone. I am Brianna Vaquero. I am the archaeologist, collections manager, and registrar at Mound House. I'm really excited to present to you the collections management policy for Mound House. I will say this is a wonderful document that was originally written by our former museum manager, Adam Knight, before he left us in October. I only edited it, proofread it, and added the necessary components required by the map reviewer last October. So that's what I did, and I'm here if you have any questions about it.
Councilor McLean, any questions?
Yeah, could you just
Sorry.
Bless you. Bless you again. Okay.
Thank you.
Brianna, thank you. Could you just elaborate a little bit about the review? You said the recommendations from the reviewer, the
Sure.
app reviewer? I think it
Sure.
was.
I don't have in front of me exactly the ones that he wanted me to add, but it was just going into a little bit more specifics about some of the things that included an insurance policy recommendation, a little bit more in depth about governance and authority, you know, who would make decisions. He wanted us to go into more detail about who would be responsible for the collection and how the acquisitions and deaccessioning policies would play out. So I just I added just a little bit more information to the foundation that Adam had already put in place.
Thank you. And so that person, what is their credentials, if you
Oh,
will?
absolutely, absolutely. So I was about 3 months into my my position here. Adam had recommended that a MAP reviewer, which is the Museum Assessment Program from Washington, D.C., come out and perform an assessment on Mound House, give us recommendations on what needed to be done at Mound House to allow us to be eligible for accreditation. And it was fantastic. He was there for a few days going through every single thing you could possibly imagine and bringing us up to current standards. He really put forth a lot of specifications for us, namely the rearrangement of the museum, the necessary policies that needed to be put in place to make us federally accredited. And he did a wonderful job. And I believe that our advisory board is on the last legs of finishing up that policy that he put forth for us. So it's done really, really well. It's gone extremely smoothly, and we are now graduates of that program. So we're very excited about that.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to tease
Yes.
out, was that
Yes,
there was
sorry.
actually the accreditation
I
was
wasn't
really
privy to all
critical.
of those meetings and stuff with them, so I was trying to think of the things that I was privy to.
No, greatly appreciated.
Absolutely.
And the fact that this elevates the museum into a level of accredited as a nationally registered and recognized. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Councilor Link,
No questions, but great work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love that place.
Vice Mayor Safford.
Yeah, the enthusiasm you have for your job is incredible.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. We're so lucky to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Councilor King.
Well, welcome aboard. And I guess just out of curiosity, under conflicts of interest,
Sure.
who polices that and what is the policy if something happens?
It's mostly conflict of interest. It just prevents any members of our staff, any members of our advisory board, any members of the town council actually from maintaining private collections of Indigenous artifacts or historical documents that would, I have a very personal belief that no one should really have private collections because it doesn't belong to the public as history does. And I believe that collections should be shared with the world in institutions like Mound House. So the people who would police that would either be town council members, our advisory members, and also staff itself. And if the necessary police need to be involved at some point because they refuse to give it up and they refuse to remove themselves from that conflict of interest position, then that would be necessary as well.
All right, thank you.
Of course.
Mr. Mayor, I'd ask it.
Yes.
Jeff, as the director, do you have anything to add to this discussion?
No, it was a great process. They've done a great job, and if you haven't been to the Mound House to see what Brianna's doing, you need to go check it out because it's amazing. That's just my plug. The other thing is I just wanted to mention that CellCab didn't give the recommendation to approve this policy. They've reviewed it as well, so just another thing for the record and something for you guys to consider.
All right. Thank you, Brianna.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Is there a motion for the collections management policy to approve?
I would like to make that motion as the liaison for CellCap, please.
Okay. Got a motion by Councilor McLean,
I'll second that as well.
seconded by Councilor Link. Any further discussion? Councilor McLean,
Aye.
Councilor Link,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford,
Aye.
Councilor King,
All right,
and I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next is Resolution 26-102, amended and restated donation policy. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, amending and restating the town's 2011 donation policy, providing for discretionary guidelines to name town resources, facilities, events, or programs when associated with a financial donation, and providing an effective date. Will?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd first like to give the floor to Nancy on this, and
Okay.
then I'll add anything necessary.
Okay, so this item, I believe, was discussed either at your M&P meeting or at a town council meeting, but we tried to incorporate the comments that were made there. And in addition, we did add, I think some of the new language was we took out the gift giving catalog. That's kind of a substantive change. And we added a whole section on naming rights that might be associated with a financial donation to the town.
Will, anything you want to add to that?
No, Mr. Mayor, Nancy covered it well. Those are the items that came out of the discussion, the M&P, that were requested to be added. I think it's inclusive of those.
Yeah, it's
and
pretty
good
straightforward.
discussion. Yep, pretty straight.
Councilor King, any questions?
None.
Vice Mayor Saff?
None.
Councilor Link?
No, none.
Councilor McLean?
None.
I do not have any either. If there's no other discussion, is there a motion to approve Resolution 26-102?
So moved.
Got a motion by Councilor King. I'll second. Any further discussion? Councilor King?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
Councilor Link?
Aye.
Councilor McLean?
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Next is item F. This is resolution 26-096 for RFQ-25-17-AD Newton Design Agreement Approval. It's a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving an agreement between the town of and J.R. Evans Engineering, PA, under RFQ-25-17-AD for the Fort Myers Beach Engineering and Architectural Services Newton Park Beach Facility Reconstruction Project in a not to exceed amount of $497,750, authorizing the execution of the agreement by the mayor and providing an effective date.
Yes,
Will?
well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The town council did give me direction to enter into negotiations with J.R. Evans Engineering after our procurement selection process. So we're bringing forward now, asking for approval of a draft agreement. The agreement is going before you today. I will also advise this is CDBG-DR funding for those who might ask that question. And Elizabeth is here to answer any questions you may have for J.R. Evans.
Okay. Councilor McLean, do you have any questions for Elizabeth?
The expected timeline, Elizabeth, if you would.
I believe we are looking at, for design and permitting, I think it's around 9 to 10 months total. And then construction to commence after. So we budgeted about 6 to 7 months of construction.
Okay.
So
Thank you. Those are my
welcome.
questions.
Elizabeth, say your name for the record, just not that people don't know who you are, but
okay,
Yeah.
I apologize.
it's okay.
Elizabeth Fountain, J.R. Evans Engineering, Senior Vice President.
Okay. Rebecca, question?
Yes, when I was reading through this, Elizabeth, thinking about permits, is there anything that the town has to do as far as permits, or you do all of those for us? Submit those permits?
Yeah, our team will be securing all the necessary permits needed. It includes state, which is through Florida Department of Environmental Protection, as well as any coordination with any of the, like Florida Wildlife Commission, for making sure we're addressing any species related items.
Right.
And then the local approval through the town itself through a development order process. And then as well as any utility line extensions that we may need to do to serve the facilities.
Perfect. And then I can assume, I'm sure that this would follow all the recent FEMA requirements as well. And
Yes, ma'am.
just for the record to hear
Yes,
that.
ma'am, it will.
Thank you, of course. That's all my questions.
Vice Mayor Safford?
I do not have any questions.
Councilor King?
Nothing.
So you said, Rebecca, or Elizabeth, you said 9 to 10 month design and permitting. That seems pretty aggressive with all the agencies that you're going to have to go through.
Mhm.
Can you break, obviously the design, I would assume the design is going to come back before the public to be able to see an
Yeah.
approval before you go to the permitting aspect. Are you going to try to do them both at the same time?
No, we will work through, I mean, the initial step is going to nail down the actual master site plan. with all the major components for.
And will the
it.
public have a chance to see that before
Yes.
the 9 to 10 months?
Yep.
What roughly would be the time frame when we're going to see that? What the vision of what it's going to look like?
But I think it's within the first 60 days.
Okay.
Oh,
So
And are you using the R2P2 model kind of to go off of?
we are definitely.
Okay. So it's going to be similar to that. So it's out there for people to kind of get an idea, because I was asked about it yesterday. And I know there's an R2P2 design. Maybe we can refresh the people's memory of what that concept looks like
We can
as
do
you're
that.
as you're going into that. Are you looking at doing any of the capping of that seawall when it comes to,
Yes, we are incorporating enhancement to that existing wall to achieve the resiliency component of the project, and it also would allow for a flood map revision to rezone the property from the higher risk fee zone to a
That's what
lower
was going to
risk.
be my next question. So the
Yes.
potential to have grade level restrooms would be there.
Yes, and
Okay.
being compliant with
And
the-
being compliant with FEMA. regulations.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all I had. I figured that was the answer. I just wanted to make sure.
No.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you.
Elizabeth. Yeah.
I have one other question that just came to mind. Does this have to go to LPA?
No.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Because you're not rezoning it, right? You wouldn't be
No,
rezoning.
this
it.
would be a
it's
straight
operational.
Yeah, you're just doing a
yes.
flood. It'd be a flood map revision, not a rezoning.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah. So sorry for the use of the term. It's just to be a flood map revision, not a zoning change.
Very good. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
All right. If there's no other discussion, is there a motion for resolution 26-096 for RFQ-25-17-AD for Newton Design Agreement approval?
So moved.
Got a motion by Counselor Link,
Second.
seconded by Vice Mayor Safford. Any further discussion? Counselor Link,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford.
Aye.
Counselor King,
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next is item G. This is resolution 26-097, the second amendment to the Tidal Basin Agreement. This is a resolution of the Town Council, of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, approving a second amendment to an agreement between the Town of Fort Myers Beach and Tidal Basin Government Consulting LLC to incorporate additional CDBG-DR and state terms to the service provider agreement for disaster recovery and mitigation consulting services, authorizing the mayor to sign the amendment, providing for severability and providing for an effective date. Will?
Thank you. I'd just like to start by saying, yeah, Tidal Basin has, they've provided excellent disaster recovery financial services to us for years now. This is, I believe this continuation is in the best interest of the town. And I will defer technical questions to Jason, Frankie, Jeff, and Joe. They can also give some good stories to where we benefited from Tidal Basin services, if you so wish.
Okay. Councilor McLean, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Councilor Link?
A quick question to the folks here, staff, Frankie. Did we by any chance get an updated list from Mark Boone at Tidal Basin about other grants? He had mentioned, I know it's a little bit off topic, but around Tidal Basin, he had said he would get to the staff some other potential grants for residents raising homes.
For the record, this is Frankie Kropacek, Community Development Director. As of yet, no.
Okay.
So
Actually,
as soon as-
correct. I think,
Oh.
but Frankie might not have been on the distro, but Tracy and I did receive that
Perfect.
from
Oh.
Mark Boone. Sorry,
There
Frankie,
you go.
but yeah, we did receive that list.
Thank you.
Frank,
Great. Thank you.
thanks for the question.
Vice Mayor Safford?
Not this time.
Counselor King?
I'm making an assumption that this is then also funded through the CDBG, DRFM, and OP.
Yes, it is, sir.
Thank you.
I do not have any other questions. Is there a motion for resolution 26-097 for the second amendment to the Tidal Basin Agreement?
I'll move that forward, Mayor.
All right, got a vote.
I'll second it.
Motion by Counselor McLean, seconded by Counselor Link. Any further discussion? Counselor McLean?
Aye.
Counselor Link?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next is item H. This is resolution 26-101 for a second amendment to Goldman Wolf LLC agreement. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving a second amendment to the existing agreement between the town and Goldman Wolf LLC for financial consulting services to increase the not-to-exceed amount from $197,600 to $580,000, authorizing the mayor to sign the amendment and providing for an effective date retroactive to September 15th, 2025. Will?
Thank you, sir. Yes, this is an amendment to the existing agreement as stated for the not to exceed amount of currently $197,600 to $580,000 in order to cover additional costs already incurred and what we will need over the next few months. Ideally, I wouldn't have to ask for this, but we've had continuations of staffing shortages in our finance department. And with upcoming audit and budget season, with audit season upon us and budget upcoming, I've spoken with Talisa and Joe at length about this. Our best recommendation is to ask for an increase in this amount to bring Goldman Wolf on again to assist us through the budget process. And although there is some sticker shock to what you see here in front of you, I want to commend Talisa working with the directors and working with Joe to find in order to cover this increase, we've had some payroll savings over the past several months, and Talisa can talk in detail about those if you wish to. Those positions, either previously vacant and still vacant, or still vacant, but we are also have recruiting efforts to fill those positions for those concerned. We don't plan on continuing to have to ask for this need. But Talisa, if you can add.
Does anyone have any questions for Talisa? I don't know if
Yeah, if they have questions for Talisa.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions for Talisa?
I don't have a question, but I think it needs to be stressed, and thank you for doing that, Town Manager, that this is a not to exceed amount. The savings are achieved through vacancies. And again, you didn't mention, but I think it's important that services will only be utilized as needed. So I think that's very key.
Absolutely.
And I think, Will, it's important to point out that the people that you're looking at doing are familiar with the town already, as they have worked with us in the past?
Yes. Sam, who's one of the senior members of Goldman Wolf, has worked with us. If you remember last year, he worked with the team on developing our budget for last year. He'll be returning to us to assist us with that. He has a relationship with the directors and Joe, Talisa. So I'm confident, personally confident in Sam's abilities to help us. And we'll be keeping on Carolyn, who already assists us in the finance department, to assist with the audit. So yes, I'm very comfortable. They are well familiar with our systems.
All right. If there's no other questions, is there a motion for Resolution 26-101 for the Second Amendment to the Goldman Wolf LLC agreement?
So moved.
Motion by Counselor King.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor McLean. Any further discussion? Counselor King.
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Aye.
Counselor Link.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. We're just to our last agenda item, administrative agenda item. It's Resolution 26-099 for RFP-26-11-ES Disaster Debris Removal and Disposal Services Recommendation. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, accepting or rejecting or modifying the ranking as determining Crowder Gulf Joint Venture, Inc. is number 1, number 2, TFR Enterprises, Inc., and number 3, Southern Disaster Recovery Vendor as the most responsive and qualified firms as recommended by the Town Manager and Selection Advisory Committee based on the responses received to RFP-26-11-ES for Fort Myers Beach Disaster Debris Removal and Disposal Services. Authorize the Town Manager or designee to negotiate with the qualified firms and providing for an effective date. Will?
Thank you. Not only is it the best practice just as learned by members of this town, but through the FROC process, which Jason Freeman has done an excellent job leading the town through and getting us to being one of the highest scored communities in the FROC. Thank you, Jason, for that. And this is just a step in that process that we found through the research and through going through the process, the directors and Jason found we can't piggyback on these types of contracts. We did look into that. We looked into everything else, but really we have to have an independent contract with a debris removal company, which is going to be the best for us, I believe. So this is to ask the council to authorize me to enter into negotiations with the top firm that our committee selected. I believe Crowder Gulf was that selectee. And once you receive me the authorization, I'll enter into negotiations for a contract on an as-needed basis for them.
Well, if you can indulge me just a minute, can I ask Jason to come up? And I think a lot of people don't talk about FROC, but how important that is in disaster recovery. Just to highlight, what the town has done. I think the staff and Jason deserve high praise for being the first in almost every category when things come out to being submitted to get us that high score. And just a quick overview of what FROC is and how that affects us should we have to go through disaster recovery again.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason Freeman for the record. So FROC program is, I think we're going into our 4th year of the program. FDEM, so the Division of Emergency Management, they have sponsored this program, and it's essentially goes through all of your emergency preparedness. Right now it's for all of our policies and procedures for qualifying work under Category A and Category B. And if you're not familiar with that, Category A is debris removal activities, and then Category B is emergency protective measures. So it has to do a lot with our emergency management planning. And so FDEM takes the time to go through and you fill out what they call the disaster readiness assessment. And so you fill it out every year. We're in the middle of finishing up all of our abatement activities for this year. So the town submitted a disaster readiness assessment back in September, October of last year. And once FDEM takes the time, they have a whole team that goes through with this program, and they go through all of your policies, your procedures, and they double check to make sure that you have all of like the minimum qualifications for your emergency pay policy, which we've been working with HR on, and your donation policy. How are you going to handle donations? How are you going to handle debris removal, which was a huge one for us. And so we've got that feedback, and then FDEM gives you what they call the abatement period. And so you have the opportunity to correct or make modifications to any of your policies, and then they'll go back and review that again for you. So we're in the middle of finalizing up all of our abatement activities for this year. We don't have a final score yet, but we're hoping it's pretty high. From what we found from last year, we actually were in the top 10 in the state for both of those categories last year. So we're actually the #1 ranked city from what we found for Category B, which was pretty cool. So we were one of the first ones to opt into it, and from what we understand, and we're very highly ranked, which is pretty cool. So it's definitely been a team effort between all the directors. I'm sure they all know that I come in their office and kind of talk about these, and with Will and Tracy and everybody too. But we don't have our official scoring for this year. We're hoping to get it in the next month or so. So we'll hopefully have some good news to share with you all for that. But yeah, it's basically an audit of all of your existing policies and procedures to help make sure that you get funding or that you don't have any issues, with obtaining funding. So it's one of those programs that we hope to not have to use a lot of these procedures and policies, but in the event that we do have qualifying events, we do know that we're kind of already pre-screened. And then it also does contribute to the mayor's point for money that FDEM can help issue up front in the event of an emergency or disaster. So your score translates to, we talk about the scores, it's the baseline is from up to 60 points. And so that will translate directly to a percentage of money that you can get up front because FDEM has, gone through your policies and your procedures, and they're comfortable, issuing that money, which is pretty cool. So I believe it's upon obligation. They're kind of willing to upfront you that money, which I think is a pretty cool thing. So the base is out of 60, and we've consistently been in the high 50s. So we'll see where we are from there. So we're almost perfect. We're still waiting on the scores and everything. So I'm not entirely sure what that will be, but hopefully it's some good news for us. But yeah, very cool program, very cool to participate in. And it kind of gets the whole town team together along with, with Will and Tracy, and just go through all of our policies, procedures. And we've even added a couple new policies this year and just kind of make sure that you have everything all together. So.
Yeah, great work, Jason. I think you and the team have worked really hard over the last 3-4 years, and how you've grown into this and understand it so much more. And I think the key point there is when you say obligation, there's a long time, as we've learned, from FEMA obligation to when you actually receive the funding. And if you don't have the funding to do that project without the help through this FROC program, you could have obligation but be sitting there doing nothing because you don't have the funding to do it. So this is extremely important. And to your point, hopefully we never have to implement these procedures, but it's nice to know that they're recognizing us as one of the top municipalities in the state. So,
and it's and every time, and that's why I always kind of remind everybody too, it's not to see, what you're lacking into, but it's really just to see where we can improve. I mean, every single year they update the questions, and we get to update those, and it gives us a chance to review those policies and just see what we can change. Like we worked pretty hard on the emergency labor policy for this year, and I believe we got that vetted through, and some of our internal controls and duplication of benefits, all that fun stuff. So just puts us in a good spot. So it's great kind of working together with everybody on it.
Thanks, Jason.
Absolutely.
All right, if there's no other questions, I will
Mr.
happily.
Mayor, may I interrupt just for a moment?
Absolutely.
They ask us to enter into negotiations with the top 2 firms, accept the rankings. You
Thank you
can
for
so
that
choose them
correction.
if you
Yes.
decide to. we'll have a primary and a secondary
Okay.
vendor for this.
Thank you, Amy.
I will happily make the motion to approve Resolution 26-099 for RFP 26-11-ER for disaster debris removal and disposal services recommendation by the staff and the selection committee.
Second.
Got a motion by Mayor Aller, seconded by Councilor King. Any further discussion? I'm an aye. Councilor King?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
Councilor
Aye.
Lake? And Councilor McLean?
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Brings us to our final public comment. Is there anybody? Howie.
Hi. Hi, my name's Howard Hoffman. I've been on Fort Myers Beach
Howard.
for 27 years. If I were to be on the council, would I have to wear pants, shoes, and a collared shirt?
Absolutely, Howie.
Yes, that's a yes.
Actually, that would be up to the council, Howie, at the
Oh,
time.
Okay. All right. That's the only question I have. Thank you.
Anyone else? Howie, you never cease to amaze us. Town manager items.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have actually several for today. I apologize, but some key updates that you've been asking for. So I would like to, again, pass on my thanks to the school board and for passing or for voting in favor of the draft ILA for potential transfer of school property. And thank you to the council members for your support in those efforts as well. We really appreciate it. I have reviewed the draft ILA, and I just want to go over some of the things that I've noticed so far that I'll be asking for amendments to or changes to that. And first was there's a recommendation in the draft for the initial charter application to be submitted to the board within 120 days. I'm going to ask for an extension of that to 12 months. 120 days just is not realistic for the amount of work required. Even if we did have a larger staff, there's a lot there. Plus, I really think it's important for us to include our community in that planning process as much as possible. So Tracy and I have been working on some efforts to include to figure out which staff members are going to be essential to that process and reach out to the community for support. More to follow on that, but that'll be the first ask. Next, I'll ask for a recommendation to allow immediate access to the town, to the property so we can begin our planning and preparation and potential construction work right away. The initial draft ties access to the property to the submission of that request for approval for the charter. So I believe we need access right away, again, to make this happen in a timely manner. I asked for recommendation to expand allowable uses. There's some language in there that limits it to specifically if we were to use the property for anything non-educational in the first 3 years of the agreement, that would represent a breach in the agreement. I think that should be expanded to non-educational or non-civic, just in case we do decide during the planning process that we might want to use the historic building for both educational and potentially civic uses, if that's the direction council gives us. I'd like to ask
Before we move on from that part, I got a question on that. Just trying to perceive how they're going to see that, our intent and how we can word this. I think the intent is that the school is, got to be there in order for these other uses to partake, right?
That is
That's how you're going to
correct,
word
Mr.
it?
Mayor. That is correct. Just, when it's not being used for educational purposes, potentially.
Right. I just don't want,
Yeah.
I just don't want them to, I
Yeah.
don't want to go back and forth as much as we as much as possible. If there's a way that it's worded so that they understand that civic uses wouldn't be unless there was educational there first.
Correct, Mr. Mayor. Yes, thank you. Also, I'd like, there's a current language in there limiting the window for closure if at any point the school were to close, either for multiple reasons, once it's up and running, that there's language in there that if it doesn't restart within a year, that represents a breach of the agreement too. I'd like to request we extend that to possibly 2 years. Again, these are just recommendations at this point that will be discussed with staff before they go back to the board or council. I'd like to add a recommendation to include the town the option to potentially purchase the property at any point within that 3-year term. based upon, and this is how I came up with the language just myself for now, is based upon independent, fair, independent appraisals of the property. Both the town and the district getting independent appraisals, and then finding the median between those appraisals if the town were to want to move forward with purchase of the property. So
wasn't there something like that in there already from their proposal? Wasn't there the town could choose if was it?
There
I think
is.
if the school closed, the town could choose to get 2 fair market values and purchase it.
Yeah, I'm Tracy Kohler. I'm not sure if there was 2 appraisals written in there, but it was more like each of us having the opportunity to get our own appraisals to make
So it's
sure
just
that
gonna
that's
clean it up a
clearly
little bit.
outlined, because what one person's focus and direction may be different than another's. And we've all been through appraisals before, and we can get some varying answers to that. So I think it's fair that each entity does their due diligence in that area.
it was just a clarification of the language that both. Then finally, I'd like to, the draft ILA does have a force majeure type section. I'd recommend that we strengthen this section, force majeure protections related to application timelines and operational requirements. There's some, I think it's a little loose in there. They don't list as many potential force majeure causes as I would like, expanding it to potential financial crises, potential staffing crises related to financial things, just adding some items into the potential causes for force majeure. Tracy and I have already begun, like I said, preliminary charter application work with assistance from an experienced charter school consultant. We had a follow-up meeting, as Tracy and I had met with them before, as we were looking for different consultants to assist us with this. We met with Education Freedom Foundation again last week on Friday or Thursday. A good meeting. They provided us with lots of work, a long spreadsheet and a long application process that have worked for other charter school and other communities that have done it in the past. We're working on formalizing that agreement with our procurement to be in line with our procurement policies. They have agreed to provide their services pro bono to us, but we want to make sure that we do it in accordance with our policies and procedures. So far, it's working out very well with them. On Wednesday, we're meeting with the parents who were involved in previous ILA discussions with the school district, as well as members of the ad hoc committee. We're going to discuss potential next steps with them and discuss some of what I mentioned earlier about how we really want to, as much as possible, make this a community-supported project. We're going to need a lot of assistance from the community, so we'll be seeking subject matter experts and those who are passionate about helping us with this endeavor. So we'll discuss that on Wednesday with the parents.
Excuse me, Will, is
Yeah.
there representation from council? Because I think Jim was the.
Yeah, I took over for Jim.
You took over it. Okay, fine. Thank you.
Correct. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that, John. I appreciate it. And then the town, like I said, I mentioned the community outreach engagement efforts for members of the community who are concerned about how we're going to move this forward. Just let me reiterate, this will be, we will be discussing this as we are now in the public meetings, and we're going to be, once we are a little bit better organized, we're going to call for some meetings, starting off with a community information meeting where we'll discuss where we're at in this process, but also we'll have more structure on maybe some potential committees that we'll be setting up in support of this, and looking for folks to lead those and looking for folks to volunteer to participate. Things like operations, things like curriculum, things like staffing, things like that. We definitely know there's a lot of people out there that want to donate their time and effort to support us in this, and also financially, how are we going to be able to do this? Not only will that be a lot of work, myself in the financial department, ultimately town council as well, but I know that we've got a lot of folks who are willing and able to support us in that effort, and I would like to have that, since it will be a municipal charter as we're initially thinking of it. So I don't want to move forward too much without us informing our residents as much as possible on that. Any questions on the school before I move on to other?
Yeah.
Can I?
No, go ahead.
So Becky and I, we briefly, we haven't had the opportunity to actually analyze and review from a legal perspective the interlocal agreement. And as you know, the devil's always in the details and the precision of wording that's used. So I just wanted to go ahead and let everyone know that we will probably have some changes to the agreement from a legal perspective to send back.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nancy. I will coordinate closely with Becky and Nancy before. And Becky's been involved in the negotiations, as many of you know. I did send her a copy of the draft to review. But I fully intend to speak with them before I advance any of this.
And I think it's important to say that, you know, to get a lot of emails about, have you thought this through? It's not, Becky has been involved in setting up charter schools in the past, from what she has told me. So she's well versed in what it takes both legally and financially and all those kinds of things. So we do have a good tool in our toolbox in Becky and the team to be able to help us get off in the right direction. So I don't know if a lot of people knew that, but Becky has set them up before.
Yeah, significantly, I think the draft makes reference to a new charter school as opposed to a converted from a public school to a charter school. It does set up a completely different process with different requirements. So we're going to look closely at that before hopefully it goes back.
Yes, thank you, Nancy. Definitely. I'm sorry, there were, John.
Just a couple maybe thoughts, questions, I don't know. I'm sure hearing the term ILA and the school brings some heartburn, considering that they never followed through on the last ILA. What kind of safeguards can we put in there? And then to piggyback on that, we're still in a process, aren't we, with the school over the last ILA where we had a mediation, and that's still out there, isn't it?
So there is a phase two. Again, Becky and I actually talked about that last night. There is a phase two. However, if this resolves the situation between the town and the school board, we would not have to proceed with that process because it will have a resolution. Again, from a legal perspective, we probably will terminate in writing the prior ILA, but I think there was also a provision in here that this would supersede it.
That is correct. There is language to that effect in the draft, but I'll defer to Becky and Nancy on making sure that we protect the town's interests as much as possible.
Any other questions on the school? Thanks, Will.
Okay, an advanced digital tools update. In the coming weeks, the town will launch Ask Finn on our town website as an interactive virtual assistant for residents and visitors. So you will see a dolphin down on the screen to ask questions of. Finn will initially be in training. Just want everybody to know. Residents are encouraged to test the platform and provide feedback on response quality and accuracy. Feedback can be sent directly to Tracy, can be sent to Abigail. Please do so. Please test it. It's also how it learns as well as with any large learning model. It learns from the more information it receives and the questions it receives, and then we on the back end can also make sure that has the right information at its available to it to answer the questions. So as the system improves over time through resident interaction, ongoing refinement, we'll just look forward to continue to improving our information. Really, you know, what it is it's a broader modernization efforts focused on better communication to our residents, to communications to our developers, business folks, anybody who has questions of the town. One more tool for them to get that information. Any questions on that? Okay. Times Square update. So ongoing coordination on future planning discussions are underway regarding Times Square. I sent you all a photo last week of a nighttime photo of Times Square. Thank you, Jeff, from some of our Lee County webcams that are available out there of the new streetlights that are up and running, up and working in Times Square. Great work by the Public Works team to get those in place. It's looking great down there. We will continue efforts to solidify the bases of those locations. If you notice, there's still some safety cones and stuff in place as the team works to improve that. And then the next step that Jeff and I were talking just recently, next step is to continue. They have been doing some beautification down in the Times Square area, if you haven't noticed, with some of the shell and some of the other stuff, but we do have some plans in the works. More information will be coming out where we'll ask for some support from the community to help us with beautification efforts in Times Square. Whether that's repainting, whether that's cleaning, that's what it is. Some of that will be coming out soon. We just needed to finish that project first. Emergency Services Director recruitment update. Had some great, as I mentioned before, great interest in that position and a lot of really good applications. And the HR team did a great job combing through those applications, identifying the best candidates. Myself, the Deputy Town Manager, current Emergency Services Director, and the HR Director participated in some of those interviews. We've narrowed that field down to a few. We have one in-person interview at the end of this week. The panel will be those members that I just mentioned. And then Talisa is working on setting up at least 2 more in-person interviews in the coming weeks for the top candidates. I feel very comfortable we're going to get very strong, very well qualified, and someone who fits our community well. Tom's a big loss, no doubt. Thankful that Tom has agreed to stay on through the transition of the new Emergency Services Director, and at least stay on as long as he can, but be available certainly to all of us as he moves on to spend more time with his family, which I commend him for. Memorial Day town updates, just real quick. Next Monday, Town Hall will be closed in observance of Memorial Day. And for the council's information, on that day, I'll be one of the veterans that Ed Ryan will be interviewing during his Memorial Day show at the VFW. Penny, your questions?
John, questions?
I forwarded you a concern last week from a resident regarding the drought and irrigation. And if you could just touch on that, and then any other further thoughts, even beyond irrigation or things like that.
Definitely. Thank you for that, Councilor King, for forwarding that on to me. And I did have a discussion with our environmental manager on that. And he's well aware and in coordination with all the agencies on that. He's reviewing it as well. He's going to be providing some recommendations back to his director and myself on any additional measures beyond those that the county or the water districts have already put in place for the community, as far as restrictions on, I don't have those at the ready right now, but it's for restrictions on irrigation times, watering times, and other things during this drought season. And thank you for bringing it up. I'd like to say to the public, after talking with Chad and everything, a reminder to everyone out there, just because rainy season has started doesn't mean the drought is ended. Last year, as an example, we didn't reach non-drought status until late August last year. So just as a reminder to people, those water restrictions that have come out through the water districts, through public information, and we'll get those rebroadcast through our media means as well, are very important to make sure that we manage this drought as best as we can.
Thank you.
Just to piggyback on that, it just made me think of something. It's a pet peeve of mine, and it drives me nuts. And I know we've probably all seen it. When you go out to eat somewhere, you see these bartenders that leave, or these restaurants that leave these darn sinks that just run nonstop the entire time you're sitting there. It bugs the crap out of me. If we could get something out to them to ask them to turn, that's gallons and gallons and gallons of water that just runs for no reason, and they just stay on. And it's a pet peeve of mine. I know it's probably not the right price to bring it up, but it's a lot of water going through that, just like the irrigation system. So one day you may not have water to turn on. So be careful what you're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll definitely add that to our public information.
Yeah, it's probably, but there's a lot of sinks on the island. Anyway, think so. Anything else, John?
No.
Scott?
I want to thank Mr. Yazzo and Commander Layler. Seems that we have a good action plan for this weekend. We all know we're going to have a lot of inland guests.
So. Yes, definitely. Great. Thank you, Counselor Safford, we have a great coordination, as always, with LCSO and Commander Layler and his team down here. So yes, our team has partnered with them. They have a plan for this weekend, the increased tourism on the island, visitors to the island, which we welcome. But it's going to be a busy weekend. They have both pedestrian, but also traffic control measures planned, but also additional patrolling to cover. Hopefully not needed, but just to be there if needed for the residents and for the visitors. Thank you.
That's all I have. Rebecca?
Yeah, I want to circle back, if I may, to bring a couple of the items together, budgeting and school, charter schools. So the timeline is really tight. That one concerns me. So I'm glad that you're going to be moving it or attempting to move it out to 120 days. I think that's even a minimum. Will that impact our next budget discussion? I have a feeling that we're working two parallel paths. We're trying to apply because we have a time clock. That's not saying we're going to do it because we want to have meetings with the community. Is that correct?
They are parallel planning paths.
Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councilor McLean?
I would just like to reiterate it being boating safety and having participated in the joint MRF and AAC committee meeting, the focus on speeding in the Back Bay is a very significant enforcement problem. And I would like us as a council to ensure that there is some coordination, and also I would recommend to the public that if they see something, say something, because it appears that there are people that are acting almost with impunity out there. And we did have a manatee strike very recently. That manatee was flown up to Tampa. I don't know the end result, but I know it was a very serious issue. And it's been a very tough winter on the manatees from temperature and other aspects. But I just like to further reiterate that.
Thank you, Councilor McLean. And on that note, this morning I did, I appreciate you bringing it up as a reminder. I did talk with our Emergency Services Director, Tom Yazzo. He's going to be reaching out to the commander of the Marine Unit, LCSO Marine Unit. I asked to have a meeting with him and with Tom and with Curtis, and so we can talk about some of these issues. And as we do have an agreement with them. They do provide services that we pay for to some degree for those units. So I want to have a meeting with them to talk about how that's progressing and how we're going to, if necessary, improve and change kind of that effort in the Back Bay, but really everywhere that they provide support for us. And he's working on setting up that meeting. And I think once we have that, better identified what the issues are and how we're going to solve them together, then we'll come back to council with that update.
Appreciate the focus. All right, thank you. Town attorney items.
No items.
Oh, okay. Well, that brings us to the council member items and reports. Our first thing is, I guess let's ask the council, do you want to go through your stuff first, or do you want to do the town manager annual performance review first? Or what, doesn't matter to me either way. Do you have any preference?
I don't have anything.
You guys?
No preference.
All right. And let's get the review done, and then we'll go through our stuff. Everybody's all right. All right. So this is the town manager's annual performance evaluation, which is dictated through his contract as well as other sources, I guess. Do you want to start us off?
Talisa Oliveira, Human Resources Director for the record. I'm pleased to introduce this item to you. So per the town manager's employment agreement, the town council shall meet to conduct an annual performance evaluation. The agreement provides that the first evaluation occur 1 year following the effective date. So Will's start date with us was May 19th. And then it should occur annually thereafter in February each year. The town currently utilizes the ICMA manager performance evaluation as the framework for the evaluation, and there is a template of that provided in the packet. Following completion of the evaluation process, the town council has the opportunity to discuss the overall performance, future goals and objectives, and any considerations outlined within the employment agreement. And I'm here happy to answer any questions that you might have or be a resource for you throughout the process.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll start out. So I filled out the document that you gave us to fill out. I'm assuming that's available for public consumption. So somebody wants it? Is that okay? So I won't go through everything, but essentially we rank the town manager on a scale of 1 to 5 on certain items that were laid out based on what we hired him for and what our objectives we thought he wanted to achieve. I gave him, I would say, an excellent score, not perfect, but excellent. Some of the things that I put in there that I think he's really achieved on, and that's building on what we had from our previous town managers, the last being Andy Hyatt, on the communication and making our staff as forward-facing as possible. Communications, getting information out as fast as possible. Nobody's ever going to be perfect. Some of the other things that I said he could need some work on were nothing major other than some of the learning the ordinances, which comes with time. Obviously, you're not going to know everything as somebody that's been here longer, so you're learning as you go. I still think we have some specifically around certain departments. There's some communication issues that I know that Will is working with staff to ensure that we get back to our constituents as fast as possible. Nothing egregious, but I think timelines for getting back to customers or constituents actually being able to get through to someone to answer some of your questions. Maybe Finn, our new buddy, will help alleviate some of that. So as I said, I gave him probably close to a perfect score as you can get. I think he's doing an excellent job at building his team. One of the things we didn't do with Andy that I think I regret not even thinking about it is talking about compensation. I have not seen my fellow council members' reviews. I don't know how they reviewed, but it would be my recommendation if he is in that excellent category that we give him a percentage increase to be consistent with what the HR department has put in place for other employees that have received exceptional scores across their review. My recommendation based on what I reviewed would be a 5% increase to his salary, which would be consistent. I've spoken with Talisa about this, and it would be consistent with what is done or Will can do with his powers through his employees. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Councilor McLean, and let you go through what you would like to talk about.
Thank you. So let me start off by saying I also, the criteria by which we ranked Will, it was 10 questions with a ranking of 5 points available for each. So it was a ranking out of 50. I too gave him a very high ranking, although absolutely not perfection. The areas that I suggested were similar to you, Mayor, Mr. Mayor. It was around communication with the residents and ensuring, and I know that there is very much a service level objective of a 48-hour return at least. I suggested that I have received feedback from residents that that's not being met consistently. I know that it is a goal, and I would recommend continuing to work to meet that goal. The other areas were really around dissemination of information. I certainly would love to get our packets more than 4 days or 3 days before a meeting that we have. However, the other strengths that I wanted to really highlight were the outreach to the community. For example, the open house that Will and the team had, all of his directors available. I thought that and his commitment to hold even more of those is a really strong thing. The deployment of performance-based metrics, and this review is an example of that, but that's being driven throughout the organization. I think that is really, really strong, as well as the leadership, whether it's AskFin or other advanced application tools that are being deployed. I think those are great strengths and really moving the needle forward. As far as the areas that I laid out as far as priorities, we had just gone through the 18 goals and 44 objectives of the strategic plan. And as a council and staff, we determined that the 4 areas that we thought town staff and Will should be focusing on were robust, adaptable, and capable infrastructure systems, economic growth through business development and year-round tourism, transparent, responsive, and inclusive communication and leadership, and storm surge mitigation, i.e. maintaining our FEMA CRS rating of 5 or greater. So I felt like this level of professionalism that continues to develop and achieve by the staff, and having all of the objectives of the town follow from the strategic plan was just a really strong moving the town forward and ensuring that we're focusing on the things that we believe we should all be focused on. Thank you.
Councilor Ling?
Yes. So I too had the honor of doing this evaluation. I would say mine averaged out at a 5 as well. The areas where I thought we needed some improvement were the things that you both spoke about. I don't think that, and Will even agreed, that we need to get back to our residents faster. That is something that I believe is in the works, and he is dedicated to doing that. I saw a commitment I would say in the last 6 months that I've been here, that gives me more comfort than I had before I was on the council, and that is fairness and transparency. I want everyone to be treated with the same rules and expectations, no matter who you are, where you live, how long you've lived here, or, how much money you have, whatever. That I see in Will, and I appreciate that. I think that leads to the confidence that the town residents will start to believe more and more that we have the right group. On areas of improvement, I'm not so sure if it's improvement, but what I had mentioned to Will is that I will be focusing the next year on looking to see that there are more consistencies at the next levels down. I don't have access to, the interactions. While I meet with the directors and Will from time to time, I don't want to get into his areas, but I'm looking for those consistencies all through the organization. I think I'm not saying that they're not, but those are the kind of focused areas I'll be looking for. I too love the strategic plan. I think once we get that laid out, we're all knowing what's important to us. So when we may see Will veer off onto something else, anyone, whether it's the council or the community, can say, whoa, that was on the back burner in the strategic plan. Why are you putting so much revenue, resources, time, and effort into it? So Will, thank you for your commitment to this town. And I look forward to better improvements. I just do. Thank you. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Safford?
It was very interesting. I was at a leadership conference Friday with the Florida League of Cities up in Orlando, and the only town manager that was brought up was this guy. So it was about the leadership and leadership books that we've all read, and you gave a recommendation to one of the ladies at FLC about the AI leadership, and she was so impressed that she gave a shout out to Fort Myers Beach.
Advanced digital tools.
Yeah. Exactly. But my opinion, I scored pretty much the same. No one's perfect, but we needed, at this point in our time, we needed a leader, and I believe that Will is that leader. He's present, he's forward, he's involved in the community. That the open house we had is just the tip of the iceberg. I think next year it's going to be even better. But I also look at a leader as how he handles adversity and the curveballs you've been thrown, and you're in the hot seat from day one with what was going on with FEMA, what's been going on with the school. And I think you've handled those really well, and you've really helped the town and protected the town. And I want to thank you for that. So areas of improvement, we can all improve in many different things. I think the lowest I had was staffing. I think there's still some gaps we need to fill, but you're working on it. I know Talissa's working on it. If we can't fill those gaps, what I saw today, we couldn't fill a gap, but we had a backup solution, whether it's outsourcing or doing whatever. But if we can't, just keep down that path of if we can't do A, let's do B. So that's all I have.
Councilor King.
Well, happy anniversary. Thanks for wanting to be a part of this community. And you have been a part of this community. Moving in here, I like how you've interacted with people. I like how you handle things. The only things I think I rated you down on, and I've heard it from others too, is communication. And I think not only with the public in general, but with the council, in my opinion. But I've already seen you working and improving on that already. So thank you for that. I'll be toasting you tonight with a bourbon at dinner. Thanks for all you do.
That it? Well, and I'd like to circle back to where I started. I think it's only fair to have the discussion, or at least get the input from my fellow counselors at the suggestion I made to offer Will a 5% increase, consistent with what we do with every other employee that scores. As all these reasons that were stated, I think Will has come into a hot zone, if you will, and has really taken it even to another level from where Andy was able to help us right the ship, and Chris and Keith before him. I think we're on a great path. I think everybody was spot on with some of their comments as far as continuing to get better, but that's going to come with time. I think he and his wife's involvement quickly, buying a home on the property, getting invested in the community, showing up at events, always having an open door policy, which is something that we haven't really had in the past, those that remember pre-Ian days. So it's a breath of fresh air. I get nothing but compliments, with the exception of some of the communication things that we've talked about with emails and getting back to our constituents. So I think it's fair and it's consistent with what we do across the board with or Will does with Talisa and the staff. So I would just like to ask the council if they would support that recommendation.
Do you want that as a motion or just consensus, or?
Well, if there's any more discussion or if there's consensus, I don't know how we would have to do it, Nancy, if it would have to be through the form of a motion or.
A motion is preferable.
Okay. Well, in that case,
Could we have some discussion, please? I'd just like
Sure.
to confirm the levels. You said you've spoken with Talisa about, and I want to make sure it's consistent and at the highest level of achievement that would be within the guidelines.
Sure. So I believe we're referring to the performance-based pay program that we just implemented. So our scoring for that is we offer employees 2 to 4% of a one-time payment of their annual salary, depending on the score of the performance review. And that is a 2 to 4% increase for being the highest. I will say we do have an internal pay plan where pay grades are assigned to positions, and then that's over a 20-year progression. So employees move up that pay grade throughout their career with the town, and that's how they receive their annual pay increases. The performance-based pay is just another component of that, where we try to make a more comprehensive overall compensation package, and then we're tying in performance to help us, track towards our goals. The town manager's role is not included in that because he is on an employment contract. So I think you have to consider that as well. He does not have a formal way he's moving through a pay grade. So, for retention and natural career progression, there's not a solidified way for him to receive, annual increases. But from the performance side, he is not eligible for the bonus that we have internally. So I think there's two factors that you need to consider.
And in your opinion, at least in my experience, typically you've got a pay band, and that's usually can be quite broad, at least in private sector.
It's very broad.
Would you consider, where would you consider Will's current pay compared to the median of?
I have not performed any sort of evaluation on the town manager's pay. So again, his position is not in our pay plan,
Right.
So I don't have any data to compare. I'm hoping to acquire a compensation software that provides data twice a year that will, allow me to have access to that data as well as town council pay and other, other like comparators for,
Mhm.
for our group, but I don't have that information at this time.
Can you answer for me then? And not that I have any problem with it, but where did the 5% come from if I'm hearing 2 to 4%?
Sure. So like I said, I think that there are two components in this. You have the performance-based pay metric, but there's also, again, your year-over-year salary increase. So the more that you're tenured in your position, the more pay you earn because you're gaining that experience over time. So I think the 5%, typically what we see is 3 to 5% year over year of an increase. So again, I think the 5% is all encompassing of the fact of the performance-based pay, and then also, moving up your pay grade year over year. And again, the town manager is not part of that pay plan. So there's not a solidified way of, at this time, of him moving, through. So it's to acknowledge the fact that he's been in his position for 1 year. And he's essentially would be progressing in that career progression. Should he have had a pay grade assigned?
Thank you for that explanation and clarification. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think you made the point of he's also, because of his contract, he's not eligible for any bonuses that other people under him that are eligible for.
Correct. He is eligible for the across the board increases, just like the town council as far as the COLA, but he is not eligible for any bonuses that employees receive since he is on an employment contract.
Have you made the motion, Mayor?
I have not. I could have made a motion, but John wanted to have some conversation, which I'm
Yeah, no, this has
welcome.
been very clarifying to me
and
because
we can continue to discuss.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll make a motion to thank the town manager for he and his wife's investment in our community, his continued good work of building a team, offer him a 5% increase to his base salary. And hopefully next year, you choose to continue on down the path that you're on. We certainly enjoy what you're doing, I think, from what we've heard here. So that's my motion.
Second.
All right, discussion. What else you got, John?
No, I'm extremely comfortable with that, and congratulations and thank you. I think it's well deserved.
Rebecca?
Yeah, I would have, just for a discussion question, would you like that to be added to the town manager's base pay? Or would you like that to be a bonus in the form of a bonus check?
I think base pay would be, I feel more comfortable in that motion versus the bonus part of it. It just keeps it cleaner, at least in my mind.
Right.
I would agree. And also, because in his employment contract, it does say the employee may be eligible. Oh, sorry. And employees receive years in which the employee receives a favorable annual review. The town manager may be eligible to receive an annual merit increase retroactive to the first full pay period following the employee's anniversary date. So I think it's clean and it aligns with the contract that way as a merit increase.
Okay.
Great. Talisa, could you tell the public what Will's average rating was when you put all of ours together?
Sure. I do not have the average rating, but I will say there was not a score lower than 4. So 5 was excellent. 4 is above average. 2 town council members had all 5s. And then there were just a few 4s, but I can put that together.
No,
for
that's
you.
quite all right. I just wanted the public to be aware of how high it actually was.
Yes, it was extremely favorable.
Collectively. Yes.
Collectively.
Scott, any other discussion?
Yeah, I'd rather see it salary than a bonus.
I agree. John, any more?
Well, if this goes through, then the bourbon's on him.
All right, if there's no more discussion, do you want a roll call vote? Is that, okay.
Yes.
I'm an aye. Counselor King?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor Link?
Aye.
Counselor King? Or sorry, Counselor McLean?
Aye.
All right, motion carries unanimously. Keep up the good work. Will, thank you.
Congratulations, Will.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, of course.
Thank you.
All right, town councilor, the rest of the town councilor member items and reports. We'll start out with you, Counselor McLean, since I fumbled your name.
No, I covered mine with the voters thing. Thank you so much. I mean, I want to thank my fellow council members for being at the school board meeting last week and providing a unified show. That's, I think, very powerful. But that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, Counselor Link.
No additional items, Mayor.
All right, Vice Mayor Safford.
Since we didn't do it this morning, I want to give a shout out to the FMB Garden Club. They and a number of other citizens have been planting this incredible butterfly garden at the Mound House using just native plants. So I guess there are a lot of people out there. Jeff, is that correct? I saw some pictures.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be very popular. I think there was one down at the school at one point, which was popular. So yeah, they're doing a great job out there. So thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate the community involvement. Thank you.
Councilor King?
Just quickly, last Friday at the Lee County Metropolitan Planning Organization, I had a chance to converse with Commissioner Brian Hammond. He shared at that time that, and I passed that on to Will and Tracy that morning, that it looked like the pier may be moving up the agenda quicker than what is thought. He shared that there was a email out there from the county. He forwarded it to me, and I asked that be forwarded all to you as well. But from Glenn Salyers, the assistant county manager, last Monday, the Corps convened a joint meeting of all reviewing agencies, and the county reiterated the need to have the project approved by June 30th of this year. Based on those discussions, the United States Army Corps of Engineers issued a revised letter that day, last Monday, to extend the NEPA review period until June 30th. While not a guarantee the permit will ultimately be issued by that date, all reviewers were optimistic they could meet this timeline. If that holds steady, Commissioner Hammond seemed to think that we could be looking at a new pier by the 5th anniversary of a Hurricane Ian in 27. And that's all I have to share.
All right. I guess I backtrack a little bit. I should have probably asked this under the manager's review, that I did have a conversation with Will and Joe about this potential increase should it go through, and how it would not have an adverse effect on the budget. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but I don't know if you want to have him cover it just to make sure that we did talk about it ahead of time, Joe and I and Talisa and you.
Yes, Joe Lonsick, Finance Director. We do have, well, even as it was earlier mentioned, there are significant savings from payroll alone from the vacancies. So that certainly is enough to cover it. And we also have, the contingency is always available for any unplanned expenditure. So we do have money in the budget to cover it.
Okay, thanks. Sorry I didn't cover it under the actual item itself, but the other thing I have is I'd like to seek direction from council or consent from council, whether it go to the management and planning or it goes just directly to Will and Nancy to go down the path. It gets tiring, and I think constituents are getting tired of seeing repeat offenders who could continue to make code violations for the same thing over and over and over again with no repercussions, or what appears in the public that there's no repercussions. I'd like to give direction to staff or bring it to an MP for discussion, whatever the board thinks is the most important path for those who are especially operating under a special use permit or a special temporary accession permit to operate, who choose to have code violations against them or to break the rules or continue to break the rules, which puts pressure on our staff. If there's a way to revoke their special use or their temporary use permit while they're not in compliance with the state or with the town's codes, or even going as far as if they have a special exception to operate certain things that they're operating, to revoke that special exception. I think our community is asking for it. I think that I know about my colleagues, but I get tired of seeing emails of why aren't you doing anything when we know we're doing anything, but our hands are tied to a certain point. So I would like to give direction to Will and Nancy to look at any revenue, or not revenue, but any path forward to be able to be stronger handed with those that continue to be in violation or accumulate other violations of our code, so that we don't continue to have this problem, because it seems like it's the same offenders over and over and over again. And just simply being able to pay off a fine because you can, and then start the clock all over again, to me gets tiring. And I know in our community, they're getting tired of it, and it doesn't help our progress. It doesn't help us move forward, which we've all tried to say we want to do. So Nancy, I'll look to you. What is the best way to do it, either through direction or council members, or would you rather have it on?
Direction is fine, and I'm willing to sit down with Will and go over what his options are, but I'd also like to meet with you to find out the specific cases that are of concern. I will say that we do have 2 code cases that are pending in the court. And all pleadings from both sides have been provided to our judges. It's just that their caseload is such that they haven't gotten to it yet. I will also tell you that Christina in our office has been in contact with the judicial assistants for the judges, trying to ask, well, when is this one moving forward? And we have not heard back anything from that. So we are trying to monitor the 2 that are in litigation. The others, I'm not aware of the repeats or the problematic ones, but I'm happy to sit down and try to come up with a path to resolve that.
Nor am I, Mayor. Are you talking just in generality, having a policy or?
Yes, in general. I
Because
mean,
I'm
I
not
don't know
sure.
that we've ever had the discussion about what does the town have as a path that they could do outside of just issuing violations, going through the magistrate. Fines continue to accumulate until it gets to a point where either we try to foreclose on a property or we go through that and then they pay a fine and then they start all over again. And it's just the same rinse and repeat. And is there a path for us to be able to legally not allow them to do what, I mean, you know what I mean? I'll give you an example. Let's say it goes through. Is there a way to stop that rinse and repeat? Is there a way through state legislation that we can say, no, you're not going to rank up $50, $100, $250,000 fines and then just pay it and continue to move on as a cost of doing business, and then the town has to suffer, or those who are choosing to operate in the town under the codes and following the rules are the ones suffering, because those that the cost of doing business is easier to pay fines than it is to be in compliance.
So you do have the judicial remedy of trying to seek an injunction, which we could move forward on that. However, as you can see, the appeals on the code enforcement cases have taken quite a long time. I don't know how quickly that is actually would be a solution to the situation. But that is an available process. In that situation, if there is a subsequent violation, the property owner would have to respond to the court, because then it would be a violation of the injunction. But again, these things are case specific. And so I can look at each one and try to give you a recommendation as to how to more quickly expedite it. But the backlog at the court is what the backlog is. I mean, our judges are very good and diligent in getting their cases moved, but there's just so many of them.
Yeah, if I can add, Mr. Mayor. So a couple of things that come to mind, and I'll discuss with Nancy, seeing maybe some examples of ETPP, permits. Somebody has an ETPP permit, yet they're racking up other violations on that property, while having that ETPP. Maybe we can discuss potentially a way to tie. Now, I already believe I have the discretion, from council to potentially not, renew that ETPP under those instances, but I'll
Not extend yet.
not extend,
Are
not
you talking
extend,
temporary
not
trailers?
extend,
Yes.
exactly.
Temporary.
So
Temporary.
emergency temporary. So
Emergency.
I will discuss with Nancy if any of those things could be, or if we would need to make a change to my authorities there, or special exception for paid parking, for example, or something, and yet they're operating outside of what they're authorized in that special exception. We have open up a case on that. Is there, I want to clarify what you're asking for. Is that an example of maybe, if they have violations like that and they don't remedy those violations, is there a means to potentially, rescind that special exception? Is that one thing that you asked for, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, that's essentially what I'm getting at is especially if after being issued an ETTP, you then get code violations after that. To me, that should disqualify you from being able to have that in your specific case that you brought up, or scenario, I should say, not case, but scenario you brought up. But I think that should be applied across the board, just like you apply all the codes to everyone equally across the board. I think that's something that I would like to see. I just, at least for me, seeing it, I hate having to tell constituents that there's nothing else that we can do. If there's something else that we can do, at least I'll feel more comfortable saying we're doing everything that we can do. To try to, again, at the end goal, we've always said is to come into compliance, but we know we have a few people on the island who just think that rules and codes don't apply to them. And those are the ones that I think most people try to do the right thing, but the ones that don't, we have to be able to do something more than just say, sorry, I can't do anything. So whatever we can do, as long as my fellow council members are okay with that direction. That was just my suggestion.
And I'm fine with pursuing that. And if it does result that we do need to file an action regarding trying to enjoin them from further violation, we're happy to do that. I just don't want you to walk away with the understanding that that might expedite everything.
Oh, no.
It could be just another, way to try to get them to where they need to be. But I'm happy to look into that.
Yeah, I certainly don't think I'm not looking for this is going to cure it overnight thing, but anything we can do from our end to continue to put pressure on those that continue to repeatedly violate codes, especially the same codes, we got to do whatever we can.
Yeah, I would agree, Mr. Mayor, especially when their permit that's been has been approved is the actual violations are occurring upon it, right? It's exactly that. There should be a way to pull that.
And I think that was my question, not knowing specifically. I have an idea, but I don't know specifically. So the violation is on the permit that we gave them, the extended permit, not some other violation for something different, right?
I'm not trying to refer to any, because I don't
No,
know all the
no,
code
but
violations that are out there.
In general, you would mean if we gave you some special exception and then you're not following all the guidelines of those exceptions, then that seems like a reason to be able to pull it back.
Well, that's what I was
People
trying
have
to do.
multiple properties and multiple things going on. Are you suggesting, just to be clear, if there's an issue going on with some exception we gave you, but you have another issue over here, that you would tie them together?
We'll try to see if I can say it as simple as I can. So
That made
in
sense.
what Will said, the emergency temporary use permits, if you were in violation of that, I know Will has the discretion to extend or not extend, but does he
Right.
have the discretion
To
to
pull
be
it
able to
back.
pull it back? Because now you've created a violation under the umbrella.
I think that he does.
I would think
So that's
because
what I want to look at, but also to your other, because there's a difference between the emergency temporary use permit and a special exception. They're two different things.
Yes, yes.
So if you received a special exception to have 12 chairs versus 15 chairs, or 12 chairs versus 10 chairs, and now all of a sudden you've got 48 chairs, that's in violation, in my opinion, of your special exception.
That
And
is
is there a
correct.
path to be able to revoke that special exception because you have broken what you said you were going to do on your end of the bargain?
Unless there's conditions to that effect, I think that
Exactly,
it's a
yes.
code violation that we could move forward with. One of the cases that we have in litigation is the absence of a special exception. That case, that is.
Yeah,
the
and I'm not
violation.
specifically talking about what is in
Okay.
litigation or not. I'm just talking in general. What do we have available? And special exception was one of the things that I was thinking about. If you received a special exception to do X, but now you're doing Y and Z on top of it, can we pull back that special exception?
Okay.
If they've received a code violation because they are operating outside of what that special exception was, besides just giving them a code violation and going through the magistrate process, do we have the power under state statute to be able to revoke that special exception and make them have to go through it again if they continue to be violating what they came in to ask for? Again, people that come in to ask for a special exception, they come in asking specifically for what they want. And then to extend past that without updating your special exception, we don't seem to do anything about that other than put code violations in. So that's what I'm trying to get at, is look at both those aspects to see how we can apply more pressure to just do what you asked us for permission to be able to do.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Understood.
I agree.
Everybody okay with them
Yeah.
seeing head nods?
And strengthening some of that language when we
Strengthening some
do
of the
give it,
language,
like
right.
the school board's doing with us. You don't do this, we take it back. Yeah, I think we need to have this. Everyone knows what the repercussions are
Well,
of
I think
not following.
at least my opinion, I think our goal is that everybody operates under the same rules, and those that are not operating on the same rules shouldn't be able to operate. But that's my 2 cents. That's all I have. There's anything else? John?
Today's earworm, courtesy Freddie Mercury and Queen. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. Another one gone. Another one gone. Another one bites the dust. Move to adjourn.
All right, we are adjourned at